I watched your review of my manifesto, and I saw you saying that I lived your nightmare experience when I walked into the bar and saw like Tommy, Kaylin, and George having a laugh and having beers. And I'm like, what the hell? You guys are supposed to be in public drama with each other. You're supposed to be having a massive falling out. Like you guys are trying to ruin his life and get him killed or whatever. What is happening? And you were like, that's like my nightmare situation, is to realize no one else is taking this seriously.
Yeah, it's not just a like a hypothetical nightmare. I've had a couple big things come to me. It's as weird as it is, through dreams. One is my current abortion stance, but another one was
why is there so much crime in those areas? Why is there so much
Black people
crime?
are poor and poverty causes you to commit crime.
Why are those black communities so poor?
There's a lot of historical issues there. There's a lot of government issues there. There's a lot of things that add up.
Have led to problems within those.
A lot of poor
would
policies
generate
made. Yeah, a lot of fatherlessness that happens.
Why is there so much fatherlessness in the black community?
No, I don't trust the government. No, I don't trust the government. No, I don't trust the government.
Wait, can you answer my question? My question. Which...
All right, I came with a fight to have.
Oh my god. Can you hold on? Can we put a timer on how long until you go full fucking soy mode? I'm chilling right now. I'm big chill, okay?
Okay. All right, fine.
Okay. You can bring up the topic, but just try not to go maximum over soy for at least like 5 minutes.
I know you reviewed the manifesto on stream. Your manifesto was all right.
Thanks.
Did okay. It was a bit long. I thought mine was a bit long, but yours went for like what, 7-8 hours?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's called. Oh my god. Oh Jesus. Oh, sorry. You gotta stop vaping, dude.
I know it's not good.
What Sorry, I just got so distracted by just seeing that. What were you saying? Oh yeah, mine was long. Oh yeah, because I'm trying to cut multiple videos out of it. It's called being a good YouTuber. It's called being a good content creator. Okay, take notes.
Okay, right. What did you think of the Lauren manifesto?
Well, audio mixing.
Well, I did it all myself, so it was awful, of course.
Yeah, indicative of some significant hearing damage. But
every song I played in the manifesto was a banger and deserves to be maximum volume.
Yeah, is
That's
that how you? Okay,
the way it is.
Yeah, cool, great, all right. I'm provocative because I think people deserve to have some provocativeness in their life. That's my Twitter excuse, so I like it. I support that.
Okay.
I think the only serious criticism I could have is, and this might just be because I'm autistic and nobody believes anything or whatever in my area of the internet, having a little bit more like screenshots or things to substantiate some things probably would have went a little bit of the way to prove certain things. That's really
yeah.
But, I don't know how much you have like saved versus how much needs to be proved. Like I know like for mine, I'm sourcing like so many things that, and I'm pretty sure for a lot of what I source, like 95% of people wouldn't even contest this, but I just put it in because it's like, I know that somebody will. So for yours, a lot of it might be enough to say like, oh yeah, like we talked to them and they said this or that, but other than that, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, so there were some things that was really hard to find screenshots for. So anything that was like 2015, 2016, I hadn't gone into full schizo YouTuber brain where you realize everyone's working against you and everyone's lying and everything. And you're just like, yeah, people are generally trustworthy, say the truth. I don't need to record anything. So definitely 2015, 2016, not going to have a whole lot of quote unquote receipts for that era.
Sure.
And then also when it came to like trying to find examples of certain tweets from back in the day, that was super challenging. I was able to find some, and obviously I was like sitting on Internet Archive for ages, but so many of the accounts that were big during kind of the dissident right era of 2016, even 2017, they're all banned. Like every single one is banned, especially the ones that were like going hard after me, because obviously the people who started infighting were some of the most radical factions that were the first to get banned on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is. So those were pretty difficult to find. I did have more receipts I could have put in, I suppose. Some I left out because, so like I mentioned, this was something I saw on Twitter today. There were people saying, Lauren, it was really bad of you to just allude to like cocaine and hookers and not put any evidence in. You must be lying. But maybe I should have just not mentioned that at all. Like I do have the evidence of that stuff, but I really didn't Yeah, I didn't want to make it a video about like people's personal failings, you know,
Yeah,
like I wanted it to be about how it affected the political sphere. So maybe I just shouldn't have mentioned that at all.
Yeah, something that I would say you have to be really careful of is alluding to things and then not substantiating them can make people really mad, even if they are true. I learned that on when I did one of my Bob 7 manifestos, the first one I did. At the end, I alluded that like if he would continue to mess with me, that I had a couple of like nuclear things, and people got really mad that I alluded to it and didn't drop it. And I can kind of understand why in retrospect, because it seems like when you say that, you're like hiding what could be the worst stuff, and people will make bad assumptions. So better to either say nothing or just release it. But yeah, I can understand.
Yeah.
But it's also another thing too. That would be something that I would take for granted. No offense to anybody or how they view entertainment, but like you could tell me almost anything about like, oh yeah, like it was crazy, you know, like we went back to the apartment, everybody did like a whole bunch of lines of coke, and then we went out to whatever. Like if somebody said that, I wouldn't even think for a second like that couldn't possibly have happened. Like no way with these guys. Like everybody in entertainment is doing depending on the community.
No way are big, wealthy, famous, independent creators doing drugs.
Bumping coke between parties? No shot. No way would anybody do that. Like, yeah, of course. But I understand that a lot of people outside of that might find that to be like really wild, especially maybe even like conservative communities even more so, where they're like, no way would they be doing drugs, you know?
Exactly. When there's such a curated public image, yeah, but I kind of hope that that's one thing that I was able to break through with some conservatives is like, we have pretty curated images for these creators, but they're all very, very broken people. They're not gods to be held up. And that doesn't like, I don't know if I quite did this well, but I really didn't want it to be like, oh, if any creator is doing drugs or having like personal failings, that means nothing they say is true. I don't think that's the case at all. I think, that's why I left a lot of the personal failing stuff out of it. But let me get to your subreddit. I of course went and checked a bunch of the
big mistake.
Yeah, big mistake. I went and checked a bunch of the reactions.
I'm surprised you even got any sleep. You could have been going through that all night.
Do you want to know what the top post about my manifesto was on your sub?
I hope it was funny.
Does anyone else not give a single fuck about Lauren Southern or that she got effed for being a far-right moron? Watching this doc, and all I can think is that these people are all far-right assholes who are against every progressive value I have. I know Destiny does push back to the right, but man, we just shat on the left for 7 hours, and now we're watching a far-right asshole's fluff piece. Destiny is pushing back to some stuff, but I don't know. F Lauren Southern and F all her Nazi friends.
Based.
Do you see the irony there?
No, not at all. Why don't you go ahead and elucidate?
No, you don't see any irony?
I'm pretty sure I literally commented in that thread where I said that like the most shocking thing should be that people on the left act the same way. I think that was my comment in that thread.
Oh, did you comment? Well, yeah. I was like, he literally acknowledges he's annoyed that you just spent 7 hours shitting on the left, which was your complaints of the exact same stuff I was dealing with on the right. And, I think these people would have a pretty, the Taliban, would have a pretty unfavorable opinion of someone who came out and said you were just a soy boy leftist who deserved all the treatment you got and all the bans you got for hanging out with progressives, right?
Sure. Actually, I wonder if I can ask you, we'll see if you figured this out yet in your infinite wisdom. Why do you think people are, so for people in my community, why do you think they're shocked about how the left acts when I do a big piece, but when the right acts a certain way, they're not shocked at all? Why do you think that is? And it's not just my community that this applies to, it's every community. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's definitely like those rose-colored glasses people put on for their own side, like everyone looking at conservatives and thinking, oh, they're all gods that hold to their values. And they kind of get this information feed of only seeing leftists getting exposed for being hypocrites. And obviously, when you've got, I explained it at the end of the manifesto, this Mexican standoff going on where no one really talks about any of the other individuals' personal failings. So it never, maybe the left-wing media would, but no one believes or reads the left-wing media anyways on the right. So if it's not being talked about internally, no one really hears about it. So it's like just a constant feedback loop of left-wing hypocrisy and failures. And people are kind of protected from any of that goes on within the group. And obviously, I think that stuff happens on the left as well. I don't know.
I think there's something more fundamental, and it's something that's taken me a long time to learn. I think people assume that there is a huge congruency between your perceived political beliefs and how you treat people in your personal life. So if I'm a progressive, then I believe that other progressives are like me. They have good political views like me. Because their political views are good, the way that they treat people personally must be good. And I think that happens on the left and right. People on the right will see a conservative and go like, okay, cool, we believe in the same things. You must be decent to people. Or people on the left will say the same. And then when they find out that that's not true, I think it's really hard for people to process that. So the reason why when people look at your stuff, or when a conservative looks at my stuff, so like a lot of the conservative response to mine are, Destiny's been, making his own bed for years. Of course, progressives do this. You see the comic where it's like they steamroll like 5 people, and then you're the next one. You're like, oh, I think we should stop now, guys. People say like obviously, it's because progressives have bad political views. Therefore, of course, they're bad people. So people on the right will make fun of me on the left for that, and then people on the left will look at you and go like, yeah, these people are all like racist and evil, horrible people and fascists. Of course, they're going to be horrible people too. So I think what's happening is, people look at political views that are different than their own, and then they extrapolate that to how you treat personally. So when their side is bad, it's shocking. But when the other side is bad, you should have known better, dummy. I think that's how people view it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also think this is something I wanted to ask you. One thing people are blasting me for is saying like, how could you not see this, Lauren? How could you not see that Milo, even if you're right wing, Milo obviously had issues. Like, you're very stupid to continually trust these people. And I hope that was something that I acknowledged quite a bit in the piece was, there's no denying my naivety. Like,
kind of. I actually don't even like saying naivety. I mean, like, I think there's a lot of natural, like, very human things at play here. Like, there's a lot. Like, first of all, if you're in any group, you're always willing to give your group more of a pass than the out group. That just is what it is. That's always going to be the case. If you hear of like a random person that, got somebody pregnant and now they're trying to get an abortion, it's like a horrible, fucked up thing, and they're irresponsible and stupid. But like, if it's your friend, then it's like, okay, like, he's not normally like that. He made one mistake, right? You're willing to give, when it's yourself or a friend, you're willing to blame the environment or circumstance. But when it's another person who belongs to an out group, you're only blaming character. That's a supernatural thing. Everybody does that. And to pretend otherwise makes you delusional. So like, that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is when you have, when you're constantly and religiously attacked by a certain group, you're always more likely to, find favor in the other group. I mentioned this about the Rittenhouse stuff a lot, that like Rittenhouse is doing all these like autistic media tours on like the right that I think is like super cringe and everything. But like, it was always going to happen. As soon as the left made him a villain, of course he's going to run to the right who wants to see him as a hero. Like, that's just the natural evolution of things. And I think that happens a lot too. So put somebody in a group, they're going to make excuses for their friends, make it so that everybody else hates them and wants to kill them, and then have everybody share political beliefs where you think if we have the same political beliefs, we must treat each other well in our personal lives. And you've got like the perfect recipe for like infinite mindfuckery. Somebody can hang on to like an abusive relationship for literally 50 years. Like, people do this in real life. So it's no surprise that people would do the same for groups.
Yeah, and it takes a while to mentally undo that position you put yourself in. Even going back and like reading some of the screenshots and receipts I put in, like my messages about Faith, I was like, this is super out of character for her. I don't know what's going on. I really hope we're able to be friends again. And looking back, I'm like, man, holy, what was I thinking? But this is something I wanted to ask. Like, when you look at your falling out with Vosh and Hassan, like, do you think there were any signs where you could have predicted that? Or was it something that just totally blindsided you?
I wouldn't say it necessarily blindsided me, but in terms of signs, I think there are ways that people act that I've come to expect people acting. I've come to expect certain people to do certain things, and for the most part, everybody kind of lives up to that mental model I have. So I'm not like, when it happens, it happens. Like, I don't think there was ever going to be a way for me to like see what, like, Hassan is going to backstab me. Like, rather than like trying to find the signs, it's more just like, I think you should start from a place of, if somebody has a lot to gain by fucking you over, 9 times out of 10 in entertainment, they're going to take that route. That's almost always going to happen, unless you've got blackmail on them or something. So yeah, I mean, when it happened, like it did. I mean, it's happened a ton in the past. It just kind of is what it is. I'm not like super like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Just how people are.
It seems really strange to me. I don't know. I don't understand where that comes from. Like I have a lot of personal failings. I'm far from a perfect person. But when it comes to like business dealings and especially stuff that can be public, when you've got so many people publicly that rely on you and are watching what you do, I just could never imagine like not paying an employee, stealing money from people, backstabbing another figure where there's a paper trail of you doing it. I can't imagine that within my life. I cannot imagine doing that. I don't know where other people get the capacity to do that. Maybe I have done it. I just have no conception or realization that I have done it. But I don't think I have.
Yeah, I mean, to dig into that, you're probably gonna have to dig in like really hard to like fundamentally like how are people built. Like this might be shit that you learn, as a young child or something. I couldn't tell you, Yeah, because I couldn't imagine, like, I would feel ashamed if somebody came out publicly and like blew me up for like not paying them for work. That would be like a shameful moment for me. I couldn't even imagine how humiliating that would be. So when I see other people do it, I can't imagine. I don't know. It is mind blowing to me.
Yeah. What's the forbidden hypothetical?
You don't want to know. Don't worry about it. You're not ready for that one, Lauren. I'm sorry.
Well, no, now you have to tell. I've got people in my chat.
I didn't even tell my chat. It's such an out there one that I haven't even told my chat. Maybe I'll DM you later and tell you. Okay, but it's a top secret, hardcore.
All right, I'll leak it to you guys on Reddit if you start being nicer to me. Okay. Any more thoughts?
Not really. It seems like most of the affected people are kind of like out of the media eye now. So it's like not like active people that are, aside from like, I think PGW. So it seems like there's not going to be a whole bunch of like, do you feel like there's like a bunch of people brewing about to like start shitting on you on Twitter or something? Or?
That's what I thought, but now, like, okay. So I know obviously that I've told the truth about these situations. But there are still like I could still think of like things people could say potentially against me, like Laura, like just like name calling or like bringing up old shit that's irrelevant to the claims I've made against them to fire back at me or whatever. And I kind of expected maybe that would happen, but there's been nothing. In fact, Paul Joseph Watson has me blocked on Twitter now. Nice. Which I think is a bit ironic because when I came back to YouTube, I didn't want to engage with him since he was being a bit crazy. And he kept sending me spam messages telling me, just allow the comments. Don't be a pussy. Unblock, unblock, unblock. So it's a bit...
Wait, just allow the comments about what? Wait, in reference to what?
Oh, because I think I'd shut down comments on one of my videos.
Oh, was it your return?
My return video, because it was full of people repeating Milo's accusations. There were like just thousands of people that were like, you slut, you slept around with men, you betrayed Tommy Robinson, this, that, and the other. It was just like all the comments. So I just shut down comments because I just didn't have the capacity.
So you were opposed to freedom of speech there. Is that what you're saying?
Clearly, clearly, yeah. Yeah, but now he's blocked me, so that's interesting. How the tables do turntables, something.
Nice. What is your so are you like what so what now?
So what yeah, that's a great question. That's a really good question. Manifesto part 2. I don't know.
Do you feel like have you like closed that chapter of your life, or are you?
Yeah, that's what it felt, because I was spending so much time just, going through old hard drives, thinking about how I'm going to say this, filming it, obviously spending ages editing it. And I'd stay up till like 4. I was getting like 2 hours of sleep. It was not good. I was staying up late, just working. And I'm like, as soon as I get this out of my system, I can stop thinking about it all the time, stop letting it like bother me, leaving all these things unsaid, and then I can figure out what to do to move on. So I'm just kind of having a decompress week. Chilling out in the woods, having fires. I don't know. I feel like I need a week and then I can start to process what to do next. What about you? You're starting a media company?
I'm working on it, but I wanted to tweet a lot today first, so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I need to put some space between the child fucking jokes and then whatever company I'm starting, so. I give it at least a week.
Yeah, just uninstall Twitter for like 2 weeks and
I could do that, but I kind of like Twitter. Kind of like people getting mad on Twitter. So I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty addicting. Yeah, you should try it more. You're too tame on Twitter.
What about? I am. I find it too stressful though. You know what? It's not like I don't mind the hate, but I mind when people are so wrong about their hate. It really gets to me. Like when they're saying things that are just completely inaccurate and then they'll get like 40,000 likes. I can't do it. I can't do it.
You just gotta meme into it.
It's not, I don't care about the ratio. Ratio me all you want. But if it's a ratio that is bullshit, like it's something like a New York Times journalist talking about how I torpedoed boats off the coast of Miami or whatever, then
just quote tweet it, put the Giga Chad dude, and move on, man. But okay, I understand. So you don't have any no big things. You're moved on from that part of your life. Are you trying to? What is like your content goal? Are you trying to do like media stuff again, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do more. Maybe another documentary. I don't know. What's crazy is I don't think people realize this, but if I'm waiting on monetization to turn on this channel, but on my other channel, on Twitch, whatever it is, I'll make more money if I just live stream for 2 or 3 days a week than I make making documentaries, because they're so freaking expensive, take so much time, and the reward is just not the same as live streaming. So it's like, I love doing documentaries, but they are so expensive and there is absolutely no monetary gain to doing them. So maybe if I do some streaming and I build up a bit of a financial cushion, then I'll go do a few more documentaries because I like doing them.
What would your next documentary be on?
I don't know. Depends what no one wants to talk about at that time.
Oh yeah?
What?
I feel like it's going to be about like trans groomers or some stupid shit, and we're going to...
I thought about that a year ago. No, like following the actual... But I guess Matt Walsh kind of did that, followed the science, interviewed a bunch of professors and doctors about the medicine around transgender stuff. So,
yeah.
Did you end up watching his documentary?
No, but I need to. I will at some point, because it feels like he did a bad job at finding good people to talk to, or maybe that was intentional. Who knows?
Even if you hate it, it's very well done. It's like hard to say it's not well done.
Yeah, I mean the right is pretty slick with their messaging. I'll never deny that.
They haven't been for a long time. Not when it comes to actual like creative. Like documentary tier. Like it's a bit comedy. It's not just a lot of right-wing documentaries end up just being like slideshows and like, here's the facts, here's the graphs, here's this. Whereas I feel like Matt Walsh actually had a bit of a story to it, which is rare. Conservatives in storytelling or fiction, poetry, art, not their strong suit.
I mean, I'd say telling stories are very much the conservative strong suit, but I know what you mean. Okay. In terms of like art and stuff, sure. But,
yeah, I think the left has always been better at art, and it was a massive failing of like the Dennis Prager era. I remember I watched his videos and like PragerU back in my last year of high school, and every single video was like, whatever you do not get an arts degree, never study art, throw your guitar off a bridge, like just go pedal to the metal with the trades, go to business school. And now we've got just no conservative artists and they're all shocked.
Well,
all shocked.
You got to promote good conservative films when you can. Have you watched God's Not Dead yet? Did we tell you to watch that on the stream? God's Not Dead, God's Not Dead 2 or 3? These are high quality conservative films. Okay.
I think I've heard of this one before. You know, I obviously I love the Christian community. Mm-hmm. I am a part of them, but we really gotta have some variety in the worship music. We need to mix that up a bit. I can immediately tell on the radio if it's like a Christian channel because it's all sounds the same. And then definitely the Christian movie making could use a bit of help. Maybe some more Mel Gibson films.
Were Mel like Passion of the Christ or like?
Yeah.
Braveheart?
At least he does an alright job.
True. Okay.
Is Braveheart a Christian film?
No, but when I think of like the two Mel Gibson movies, I think of Braveheart and the
Yeah.
God, what's the one where
what's that? I like that conspiracy theorist one. Where he's the taxi driver and he thinks the government are coming to get him, and he actually turns out that he is like an MK Ultra spy. Does anyone know what movie I'm talking about?
Mel Gibson?
Yeah, it's a great movie. How do I copy my Discord username? Okay. Someone in the chat. No one knows what I'm talking about here.
Oh, Signs. Are you talking about Signs?
No, that's the alien one.
Oh, it has to do with conspiracies.
Mel Gibson, conspiracy. The movie's called Conspiracy Theory. It came out in '97.
Gotcha. Oh, Braveheart and the
10
Patriot.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Gotcha.
The Patriot's good too. Everything Mel Gibson is good.
Everything, even all the phone calls.
Except his rants on private phone calls. Those are a bit spicy.
Yeah, just a bit. Jesus.
Signs was a Christian movie, no cap.
Oh yeah, it was actually. Like, I think it actually was. Right?
Last time I watched that, I was a child, and it gave me nightmares for years.
Aren't you like 20 something now?
I never watched it since. I don't think I finished the movie. I think I left the room and I went to go play RuneScape for like 7 hours because I didn't want to sleep because I was so scared of the alien.
How much time do you cut sleep out of your life? You don't sleep as a kid, you don't sleep when you're working on a manifesto? You're gonna have like fucking early onset dementia, you know this, right?
Absolutely. It runs in my family too. My grandma had horrible dementia. It's going to be good. My streams are going to be great when I have dementia.
Jesus Christ. You're going to be out in like a fucking hotel swimming pool in a boat with a flare gun looking for brown people. I'm just kidding. In a video game. Anyway, cool. Well, hey, listen.
That is, I cannot believe someone sent me a clip of you the other day. You're having an argument on stream and you're like, Lauren Southern shot flare guns at migrants and she should be deplatformed for this. And the person's like, I don't think that actually happened. And you're like, no, I am 100% certain this happened. 1000% certain this happened. We can find that clip if you want. Take my word at it. I will. I'll send it to you.
Sure. The question was whether or not you should be deplatformed. And I said, what you do today, I don't think you do anything today. Just having different political views is probably not worth being deplatformed. But I think sailing around in boats in the water, shooting flares at migrant boats is probably, I think that given the illegality of it, is probably okay to ban somebody for that. I don't think I would be opposed to that. Do you think that's a controversial opinion?
No, you said I 100% shot flares at migrants. That's what you said in the video.
I think it was about shooting flares at the migrant boat. If you feel like I said shot flares at migrants, I'm sorry if I mischaracterized you, but my greater point is still completely and totally unchanged.
Oh, I'm sorry I called you a rapist, but my greater point about you being creepy is totally unchanged. Okay.
Wait, find the clip. We can listen to the clip.
I will. The account got suspended.
Oh, wow. Convenient.
Someone go find me the clip. Okay, wait. I think I can still play it. No! How did this account get suspended? I literally saved the link. That's so irritating.
You saved that's actually obsessive behavior. Are you okay? Are you so hungry to get dunks on my stream that you're archiving Twitter videos now?
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it again. How did you report this account?
Who knows? Now you'll never know because I deleted all my tweets too, so.
All right. I liked, what's her name? I watched a few of the reaction streams to Manifesto, and there was a chick, Not So Erudite. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, she's one of the few surviving DGG orbiters that's based, okay? She's part of the, I don't know what you would call it, the collapse of the DGG universe when I got banned from Twitch. Only a few bright stars remained, and she's one of them.
Yeah, she had a cool take. I listened to a bit of her review, and she was saying, like, listen, you can hate everything about Lauren Southern, you can hate her views, whatever, like, I don't politically align with her at all. But the reason that we shouldn't criticize or attack Lauren for her manifesto is because no matter what side it's on, and I generally agree with this too, if you are calling out kind of nefarious behavior, whether it be, stealing money, lying to your audience, anything, if we clean up the political arena, both left and right, when it comes to this underhanded behavior, then we can actually move forward politically because everyone will be having honest conversations. There'll be more people involved that are actually interested in helping politics, even if it's like more progressives or trans activists. For me, if they are at least honest people, at least not just doing it to try and steal people's money and get talking points out, then we may be able to make some political progress, even with this left-right fight back and forth, because it won't be these just posturing arguments. It'll be people who genuinely care. I thought that was an interesting point.
That's true. People got really mad at Nancy Pelosi for a comment saying we need a strong Republican Party in the United States, which is actually true. You need at least 2 strong polls for people to like fight between, because usually in the tension you'll find like the better beliefs, hopefully.
But it has to be real tension. It can't be like this theater.
Yeah,
theater tension that everyone's doing for money.
theater attention includes most of the alternative media there as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Sure. Earlier you posed a question about like, did I see like the Vash or Hassan stuff coming? So you've made this whole manifesto. You are smarter, older, more battle hardened. What changes will you make going forward when you intersect with people to make sure you don't get fucked over? What do you think? Do you think that looking back, there's some behavior that like you should have caught up on, or what do you think?
One, trust no one, or trust but verify, the famous Reagan quote. But two, definitely like not make my social circles so based around politics, because I think that's what causes a lot of the problems, is when people mix the personal and political, like these personal falling outs and fights and battles and who's dating who and who went to whose party. This was like a huge problem. I don't know if this is so much the case on the left-wing progressive side, because I don't think you guys go outside as much, at least not in your activism. But all of that kind of personal intermingling caused so much bad blood that came out in like duplicitous behavior publicly, but all of it was framed as political conversations. Even though everyone internally knew it was like personal falling outs, it was not good. It was not good.
Say that last part again? What do you mean by that?
So like we'd see these political battles happen between creators, and all of the public people following, like the fans, they'd be like, wow, they're having like a really intense political back and forth. They're calling each other out as grifters or whatever. But what was actually happening behind the scenes was they were having some sort of personal falling out, and they were using politics as like an angle to, take out their personal issues.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And that would happen consistently. It's so bad.
Hold on. Speaking of trust but verify, somebody has a clip. We can watch
the clip.
Yeah, we can watch this. Okay.
I think I've got it on my computer too. They just sent it.
Jesus. Okay, you ready? Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, am I going to be able to hear it? Or should I just play it on my end too?
So we can play it at the same time, okay?
Okay, wait, give me a minute. I just reset up all of my OBS and I barely know how it works.
You don't have to show them. They can just listen to the audio, unless they really want to see me farming in Minecraft.
Okay, whatever.
Wait, who was right about the summary of this clip, guys? Tell me before
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go.
Wait, you gotta count down. Stop. Go back.
Wait.
Hello?
All right.
What's you have to be like 3, 2, 1, go. You can't just say go.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Deplatforming is okay here. I'm not gonna sit here and say like people like Lawrence Sanders should be able to go out and video record themselves shooting flares at migrant vessels. That's probably not okay.
I don't think she did that.
She did.
I'm pretty. I mean, you can ask her about it. Like, I know she went out. I don't think she actually shot a flare at anybody.
I promise you, she absolutely did.
Okay.
With the goal being to like try to get these. Okay, I think that was an accurate statement. What do you think I'm wrong on?
Wait, let me replay that.
Okay.
Shooting flares at migrant vessels. That's what you said. Did I shoot flares at migrant vessels?
Didn't you shoot a flare at the boat? Or should okay, hold on.
No.
Wait, okay, hold on. Maybe I was wrong.
That never happened.
Should I have said you shot a flare in front of the boat?
I never shot a flare. There was no shooting of flares.
Wait, did you never shoot a flare gun ever?
No, that's like literally the whole meme. I never even shot a flare gun.
Okay, hold on. Trust but verify. Find me the videos, guys. Where's the video of it?
I had a handheld illumination flare. It wasn't a gun. You can't fire it, Steven. It stays in your hand and it just lights up in your hand. It doesn't fire. You can't attack anyone with it. You can't do anything with it.
First of all, you don't attack people with flares. The implication is that you're attacking people with flares. Okay.
The whole idea was the whole idea of like the left-wing portrayal is I was shooting a flare gun at the boat to try to set it on fire and attack it and like kill people.
You're not shooting at like a rickety pirate ship that's made of wood. It was the Aquarius is like a huge ass fucking steel ship, isn't it?
People think I was sinking the ships. People think I actually succeeded in this, and there were like burning ships all around me as I'm laughing with flare guns and like migrants crying in the water.
Okay, I don't think anybody really was that, but I'll do better in the future to say she had.
There's literally a journalist with the New York Times that got 40,000 likes on Twitter saying this just last week.
That you were trying to sink a boat.
Yes.
Okay, well, when I say in the future, I'll say she was trying to stop. What is the terminology? She was trying to stop a migrant boat with a portable, light illuminating
There were no migrants in it. God.
Wait, why were you trying to stop the boat then, Lauren? Was it just a commercial ship? You were trying to stop the boat because you thought it was bringing in illegal immigrants. That's why you were trying to stop the boat. For your intended purposes, it was a migrant boat.
It was an NGO vessel with no migrants in it.
Stop. It was an NGO vessel that you believe was going out to...
These details... No.
Lauren,
Listen,
hold on. Whoa. Hold on. Lauren, I'm going to say this and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. This was an NGO boat called the Aquarius that you wanted to stop because you believed that their mission involved them picking up... Whoa. No, hold on. I didn't get there. You thought that their mission involved picking up people out of in the sea and bringing them back to whatever country they were going to as a form of illegal immigration. That's why you were there to stop the boat.
Correct.
Okay. I think what I said is
the boat was never stopped and no flares were fired.
I didn't say whether you were successful or not.
You said flares were fired at multiple ships, in fact, multiple migrant boats, you said.
I said you were there to shoot. Do you want to listen to the clip again?
Everyone that thinks I was there watching people burning around me.
No, but I never said burning around. Okay, I don't know what kind of...
with all my ships,
Lauren,
just killing people everywhere.
You're soying out a little bit right now, okay?
Oh yeah.
When I say shooting flares at boats, I'm sorry. I guess some people I don't mean burning ships down with flares. That's not normally what flares do.
But that's how your retarded audience take it.
I don't think my audience thinks you.
They're a little better today, but seeing how much this message spread online, progressives absolutely lost the plot with it. And
okay,
I feel like
gotcha. I'll try to clarify in the future.
For the rest of my life explaining this to people.
Okay, I'll clarify in the future for the 7 people to believe this in. Just so you guys know, I don't think she was trying to light ships on fire with her flare gun. I think she was trying to turn them with her light illuminating stationary non-projectile flare gun. It's
okay, but okay. Jeez.
Just listen, send me a PDF with the 52 adjectives that you want me to use preceding the word flare or whatever. And I'll make sure to have all of it included next time. But I'm pretty sure even in that clip, we can watch my... Wait, hold on. We can watch my clip again. I'm pretty sure even in my clip, I say specifically that you were just trying to turn the ship around or stop the ship. You weren't trying to burn it down. I think I even say that explicitly in the clip.
Okay, sure. You're somewhat better than the...
Hold on. Stop. Now we're going to go back and listen to the whole thing again. Hold on. Go back to the very beginning. Let me know when you're ready.
Wait. No. I got to find this tweet so I don't feel like a crazy person.
Oh, you should feel like a crazy person, okay? Also, just so you know, flare can colloquially refer to the exact devices that you're talking about, right? I'm pretty sure that, it's not uncommon that sometimes, motorcyclists or other people can carry, I know in DayZ, you can, open a device and it's like a flare, but it doesn't shoot. It's just like a light that lights up. Flare doesn't always mean projectile that's shot out into the air. There are a ton of different...
Though, people have obviously assumed that. If you look up Lauren Southern flare or boat, you're going to find thousands of tweets. Look at the first one. You hired a boat so you could shoot flares at refugees.
Wait,
that's
did I
the
say
first
that?
tweet that comes up when I look. No, I'm just saying if you look up my name, that's the first thing that comes up because when you say that, progressives, they take it and run with it. Just... You have to be careful with your language around this because they're keen. It's like they wanted me to do it. They so badly want someone in the Mediterranean.
I'm pretty sure you so badly wanted to do it, but it's okay, Lauren. Listen, if you want to project,
desperately want that because it's great for their talking points.
Lauren, if you had a flare gun in that boat, would you have shot a flare into the air?
Maybe into the air. That wouldn't have hit anyone.
Okay,
though.
Sure. Okay, I'm just saying. All right, as long as we're all being honest here. Okay, as long as we're all friends in this call. Okay. Do you have my clip back up? Hold on. I think my characterization was fair. Let me know.
No, I think it was BS.
Oh, really? Because I said...
played it for the chat. They all
okay.
They get it.
When I said the purpose was to turn the ship around, not set a ship on fire, but that's okay. I'll try to... I'll give a good 30-second pre-warning for anything I say so that... Do you have... Actually, you should make a 45-second... You can make a YouTube Shorts video saying, hey guys, this is exactly what I was doing in the Mediterranean. It wasn't a flare gun. It was a stationary diode-emitting illuminating device meant to be employed over the water. No projectile, blah, blah, blah. And then I just link them that every time.
Holy, that must have been a hard delete. The New York Times journal deleted her tweet with 40K likes saying I was killing refugees.
Damn.
Let me see if I can
mainstream media with some accountability. How does that feel?
Well, you know what? They didn't put any retraction, so there's still 40,000 more people that think I did it.
Okay, here's a question. Okay, ready? Moving off story topics. Do you think that if people joke about, let's say people make jokes about me raping people, okay? Do you think that that's irresponsible because... Maybe people will think I actually raped somebody.
Depends. Some people are able to make jokes that are obviously jokes. And
yeah, but if people are like, yeah, don't know.
Of making jokes.
Sure, okay. So that's probably not okay. People can't tell the difference, right?
If people can't tell the difference, then no, of course it's not okay.
Okay, I submit Exhibit 1. Lauren, why do you refer to your own thing as a flare gun in so many tweets?
Where?
Don't you think that's confusing to people? Aren't you the purveyor of fake news?
Did you just send me something?
Yeah, I did.
What are you talking about? I'm not talking about my situation.
You said respect those flare gun skills.
I'm not even talking about myself.
Really?
The tweet's deleted, but it was a guy that was in a excavator shooting a flare gun at someone else. Had nothing to do with me.
That's not what the original video was about. But since we don't have the original video, you're lucky that I can't call you out on it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you need to fact check before you bring things up on stream, bud.
Okay, Exhibit B. What about that tweet, Lauren? Would you characterize that as a flare gun?
Let's see this.
Why would you imply that you're in a gun with flare guns, Lauren? Don't you think that's a little confusing?
This is a banger of a tweet, all right? This is a great tweet.
Okay, just saying.
I've never even held a flare gun. Someone needs to send me one if you're allowed to mail them. I want to actually own one. Here's the thing: if I'm going to be accused of doing all this, I want it to at least like go in the history books. Like I hope if progressives win the war and Republicans, all of us
take down at least one migrant boat with a flare gun just for.
No. My hope is that like the history books actually take like these New York Times journo tweets into account, and there's just like a few pages of me edited in nice black leather with flare guns in the Mediterranean as this Hitler-esque character in history that just was out there getting numbers, like taking down boat after boat. I think if I'm gonna get the reputation, it might as well go all the way.
Hold on, this is something else. Okay, I should have been way more apologetic to Lauren in this conversation. I didn't realize either. I'm gonna be fully honest. Either I'm retarded, or you guys are so much more retarded. You guys are so much more retarded than I thought you were. Or I am retarded. I don't know, okay? Here is, in my mind, this is what I think, okay? I understand now why Lauren was so mad at this. And after reading what you guys say, now I think she might have actually been right. If I'm sailing in a dinghy, I'm in a little itty bitty boat, and we're stuck at sea, and there's another boat over there, and I see that boat, okay? I might say, oh my God, John, quick, fire a flare at that boat. When I say fire a flare at the boat, never in a billion years would I expect John to pick up the flare gun and shoot the flare at the boat. If he did that, I would kill him. I'd be like, are you a fucking moron? Obviously, when I say shoot the flare at the boat, shoot it in the sky in that direction so they notice. That was, when I hear people talk about shooting flares at things, that's what I'm thinking. When, oh, you shot a flare at a boat. Yeah, you're shooting a flare in their direction to get their attention. But apparently, I don't know if this is consensus around all people who thinks otherwise. Everybody in my subreddit was arguing against me that no, Destiny, when you say, because when Lauren says I didn't shoot a flare at a boat, I had like a handheld flare thing. Okay, it's the same fucking thing. Because you're just shooting flares to like get the, or having a flare to get the attention of the boat. Now I understand why she's saying it's not the same fucking thing. Because people online think that when I say shooting a flare at something, I mean like actually shooting flares at boats to set them on fire. Jesus Christ, what is happening here? Sorry, hold on, I need to find this. Okay, it's destiny@reddit.com. Wait, she didn't shoot it into the mic? No. So she didn't shoot the flare at the boat? No, I can't tell who's even asking or not. I'll be real, I thought that Lauren shot a flare at a boat to burn it. No! How do you people think this? I can't even believe you guys actually think this. I don't even know if it's possible. I don't think you can set flares on, I don't think you can set boats on fire with flares. Even if it was a wooden boat. I don't know if you could set a boat on fire with a flare. But the, I gotta pull you guys after. Hold on, let me see if I can. Okay, here. These guys are getting upvoted. When I think of shooting flares at a boat, I'm thinking you aim the flare and shoot it in the direction they notice. No shot. Not in this context. In this context, the other boat is an enemy boat, at which point shoot at it most definitely should be interpreted literally. If you encountered an enemy boat and someone told you to shoot at it, why would you think to shoot in its direction so they would notice? You don't shoot flares at enemy boats! Flares aren't weapons! You guys know this, right? You guys, hold on, but I don't know if you guys know anything about flare. A flare is not like an exploding grenade, nuclear bomb that's like setting shit on fire. It's not fucking napalm. Yeah, but this, so I will say I'm super sorry. I am super sorry to Lauren. I didn't know that you guys actually all thought this. I had no idea. So I'm gonna be way more careful with my verbiage from now on. You can't ignore the context. If you say stopping migrant boat by shooting flares at them, yeah, you shoot the flare to get the attention so that the boat stops and either picks you up or has to move. Do you guys know what kind of ship the Aquarius is? It's a real big ass giant fucking thing. Do you think that you're gonna shoot a flare at this boat to stop it? You're not gonna, are you like aim for the captain's eyes? But listen, I understand, maybe you guys, this is my fault. Going forward in the future, I'll be way more careful. I was imagining that Lauren was firing a flare gun at the boat in an attempt to intimidate or scare whoever was in the boat. How big do you think these boats are, guys? It's not like a two-seater. It's not like a little itty-bitty, like... But, okay, anyway, I know this now for the future. That when we talk about... If I say shooting a flare at something, apparently a good chunk of you guys actually believe that I mean aiming a flare at a boat. Yeah, true. You guys thought that the Aquarius was like this ship. Or like this ship. What? Did you confirm if it was even a flare gun or just a hand flare? If it was a hand flare, headshotting the immigrant is even more sure. Yeah, this is why because Lauren was like, there's a huge difference between shooting a flare and like having a hand flare. I'm like, no, there's not. It's the same thing. You have a giant fucking light to get somebody's attention. But now I see why she's saying it's a huge difference, because you can't actually fire a flare gun at other people. Whereas you guys thought when I say shoot a flare at a boat, I mean actually aim the flare gun at the boat and try to shoot and hit somebody in the boat. Okay, anyway, we're moving past that. Jesus Christ. Okay, we're back on okay, I need to just, hold on, I gotta meditate for 1 second. My brain is all over the place. Their entire purpose of being on the boat was to prevent illegal immigration. What the fuck are you saying? Lauren's boat wasn't stranded or sinking. They were in an ocean with the sole purpose of trying to intercept and disrupt the boat, attempting to save migrants. I don't know why he's spamming caps. Nothing he's saying is contradicting anything I'm saying. I don't know. I don't understand. I can spam caps too. I don't understand what the point is. You can shoot a flare gun at someone. That's totally possible. It still hurt someone if it hits someone. You're being so autistic with your words right now. If someone told you they shot a flare gun at a boat, I'd think they'd literally shot it. I understand. I'm gonna be more careful with my words.
Obama.
So, one of us is fucked. And it's funny. This is funny because either I'm autistic terminally or you're autistic terminally. So it's funny. I'm either laughing at you or laughing at myself, you know, who knows?
Didn't say Simon Says.
What do you think the word at means in that sentence? Like in their direction. Like, hey,
didn't say Simon Says.
I'm trying to think if I could do this in like a video game. Like if we're running around in Rust, we're trying to get like somebody's attention. I'd be like, hey, fire the flare at them. Like I feel like I could say that. Like, hey, go fire a flare at Dan and Mooten. But it would be like fire a flare in the air towards them to get their attention. Not actually like aim at them with a gun and shoot at them. Like, or signal them with a flare, I guess you could say too. I'm trying to think if there's any other comparable do this at them. I don't know. Who knows? It might also be the case that a lot of you guys are young and you played a lot of TF2, and apparently they added flare guns, I think, to the flamethrower dude afterwards. So if you were stranded on an island and want to get the attention of the boat, where would you fire the flare? I'd fire it at the boat. You'd fire the flare at the boat, meaning like in the sky, in the trajectory, like towards the boat. You wouldn't just shoot it straight up. You'd shoot it at the boat. Or I guess you could say towards the boat. You'd fire it in the direction of the boat to get the attention of the boat. Then say the sky. But no one, you're not just shooting the flare randomly into the sky. You're firing at the boat in the direction of the boat. But that's okay. Listen, it's all good. Okay. What's the point of trying to get their attention? Genuinely asking. When Lauren and them were on the, I think they were just trying to get the boat to stop and turn around by like scaring them off, or something. It's hard to say. They were in a boat that was too small to ever stop them. I don't know, maybe to get them to stop and pause and think or whatever. But like, they're not scaring them off with flares. It's not like they're gonna shoot flares and the boat's gonna be like, oh, we gotta turn around. This like 4-seater out there is gonna fucking take us out. But they didn't have projectile flares. They just had like a flare. Not a gun, a flare, whatever a non-projectile gun or whatever. All right, we're going back to this.
You cannot prove a statement. You cannot prove it.
Income from
it's not mutually exclusive. You cannot prove a statement. You cannot prove a statement is being made because of the fucking loss of income or whatever the fuck. Because I would have way more proof of the exact opposite.
It doesn't apply to you, X. It doesn't apply to you. It applies to. Yeah, I preach it toward the PG-13ers, right? The ones that glue smiles on their fucking faces and act robotic and virtue signal on every fucking avenue, right? Like, we know they're human beings at the end of the day. Right, yeah, it's those that I preach that against, right? I don't think it's right. Like, I think what he's saying about that is correct. I don't think it should be applied to you though, because I know you're just like me. You speak your fucking mind. If we get banned, we get banned. We eat that fucking ban, right?
Yeah, okay.
We speak our mind.
In that regard,
there's nothing that you guys hold back at all. There's nothing.
Fuck no. Why would I?
Do you watch my streams, Los Pollos? Do you watch them?
Dude, you know what? You know I watch your. I'm saying
those
like
motherfuckers hate me, bro.
You're saying that.
By the way, they added the flare gun in the game in 2008. Yeah, I stopped playing TF2 in like 2007 or 2008. I think I started playing right when they added it because I think there were 1 or 2 classes that got secondary weapons and I thought it was a really big deal. Like they added the flare gun to the flame dude. Oh, that is when I quit actually. I remember because I always used to just play a sniper in the back of the map like an asshole. And then when flame guys started to be able to snipe me with flare guns, I just quit. I was like, fuck this. I shouldn't be getting sniped by a flamethrower dude. And then I quit playing. So that is when that is around the same time I quit. The game came out in 2007. I didn't play TF2 for fucking years, okay? I played it for a bit and I stopped. Wow. What, shifting gears. It's actually sorry, just on a quick thing. It's terrifying to think that like history books are gonna have tweets of them. You know that's the case, right? They might already actually.
Oh my God, I didn't even like seriously think about that.
Yeah, they absolutely will, given how much like Trump used Twitter and stuff. And even for like Obama was on Twitter kind of like there are absolutely going to be history books with tweets in them. Jesus. Okay.
I remember going to a court case in Toronto and the judge, it was the Gregory Allen Elliott case, and the judge was reading out tweets the whole time. And it was just awful. It was like at 4447, you know, it was like what was Kyle Rittenhouse's name on Twitter or TikTok?
Oh no, it was,
like
I think it was
four doors, more whores.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was some username like that. That he's like, you are a fat piece of shit. And like, it's like this all serious, like old judge having to read this out and then, you know, reading out the emoticon characters. Oh, it was awful. Kind of funny, but awful, but yeah.
True. Wait, for the thing that you had, what would you, hold on, just so I know for the future, can I describe it as a flare or am I not allowed to say flare?
You can describe it as a flare, but it's not a flare gun because it doesn't fire anything. There's no projectile aspect to it, all right? It matters. It matters.
Okay, all right, just check it. Okay, I don't want to...
No, that's like, if you think of like the definition differences, right? That's like if someone was into consensual non-consent and you just kept calling it like non-consent.
Okay, all right.
One is firing a flare, an aggressive act towards another. The other is a handheld illumination device, okay? Very different things.
Gotcha, okay.
The specifics matter. I know you guys don't care because you just are like, gosh, you know.
Sure, that's good. Words
no
mean
matter
things.
what,
I say this all
whether
the time. That's fine. Okay, I'm just making sure I got the terminology clear. Okay.
Hand flare. There we go. That's a good one.
Have you picked a denomination yet for religion, or are you still one of those non-denominational cowards? Are you ever going to pick a denomination, or are you just going to be...
Do I have to pick a denomination?
Yeah,
I go to my church. I don't really care what denomination they are. I think they're just Pentecostal. It's not a big deal.
It doesn't matter at all to you, just don't
I've been to Baptist churches, I've been to charismatic churches, I've been to, you know, Pentecostal.
Okay, why Christianity then over like Judaism or Islam? Why do you care about one or the other if you don't even care about denominations?
Why Christianity over Judaism or
Islam or Hinduism or whatever else, or any other at least like monotheistic religion? Like you could argue they're all talking about the same God. Some people do.
I prefer biblical principle over Honestly, I can't. Here's the bad. Actually, no, I'm about to make a terrible take.
Okay.
Like a lot of it is
a
lot of it is probably because I grew up Christian, right?
That's fair.
I came to genuinely like appreciate the word. I came to genuinely appreciate the messages and the morality in the Bible. So, yeah. But you know what? It's probably a worthwhile criticism to say I should spend more time studying other religions.
I'm not criticizing you. I was just curious if you found.
Oh, no. I think it is. Whether you're making it or not, it would be a worthwhile criticism.
Oh, well, if it is worthwhile, I will make that then. Fine. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Something you said.
Why atheism?
Because it's the most fact.
Did it match your trench coat?
No, it matched the fact that my brain was moving at faster than 75 IQ. So obviously I had no choice but to embrace the big-brained atheism. Something you mentioned earlier.
My mom just sent me like 40 texts all telling me to stop vaping in all caps.
Thank you. True, actual based Lauren mom take. Okay, you need to stop vaping. You probably were you ever a smoker?
Not ever like consistently.
But guess what? I bet you vape consistently, don't you?
Yes, it's actually so bad. So a friend bought me a vape like literally last month, and it tasted so good. I wasn't eating sugar, and it had like a raspberry lemon flavor or something. And I just liked it for the flavor because it was the only sugar I was having. And now I just can't stop. It's not good. I'm watching myself get addicted to something in real time.
You're actually doing it, but you're laughing about it, but it's happening. You're unironically getting addicted. You're getting addicted to the nicotine too, and to the habit of just vaping. So this is, I think I called this like 3 years ago. I mean, a lot of people are saying this, but like, it feels like you're gonna have a whole generation of people that were never addicted to smoking that are somehow now addicted to vaping. And you're like patient, well, not even zero, I guess. You'd be patient like 10 million at this point, but.
This is the thing. You can tell yourself too. It's like, oh, I'm going to vape to stop smoking. But then it's like, oh, now I can just smoke indoors. So now instead of going out for a smoke every once in a while, it's just 24/7.
Wow, you're laughing as you're destroying your body. Why would you do this?
Okay, I'm not going to touch it for the rest of the stream. You know what's good though? I've stopped drinking on stream. Have you seen me drink once on stream since I published the manifesto? No.
Have you even streamed since you published the manifesto? Do you think I keep up with every single one of your streams? I'm busy working myself, okay? Did she drink it all on her last stream? I bet you did, one time. Did you drink on that Simcast thing you were on?
Nope, not once.
You're probably,
I don't think so.
You're pre-gaming, I don't believe you.
Uh-oh. Did I drink on the Simcast? No, I think I just vaped. Yeah,
Jesus
I'm gonna stop. We're gonna stop the vape. Okay, look it. This is actually good lessons on stream. We quit drinking together with my stream, and now we're gonna quit vaping together. And every couple months, I'll just have to get addicted to something new, so we can all walk together on a journey of rehabilitation.
Nice. Yeah. I keep trying to get to a serious
doing this for the people.
And you keep distracting me with dumb shit. Cool, okay, so it seems to be the case, something that perhaps both of us have figured out, and I'm sure others have figured out, that picking friends based on political beliefs doesn't seem to be a winning strategy. Is that agreeable?
Very agreeable.
If that is the case, that's not a winning strategy, does it bother you if you have friends that have like wildly incongruent like moral beliefs, I guess? Do you think you have some kind of moral, if not political, some kind of moral obligation to surround yourself with people that share values similar to you?
I'd say there are some like large moral values that would be non-negotiables, right? But I think people being against murder, rape, these kind of big
boring. Hold on,
right?
Don't Sam Harris me. Okay, obviously these are the big ones, but like say people that have like wildly incompatible lifestyles. In terms of like somebody, like let's say you have a friend who goes like BLM protesting like every weekend. Like you're like, do you want to hang out Friday? And this guy's like, I would, but I'm gonna go like burn down a courthouse. Like I'll catch you on like Sunday maybe. Like do you think you could maintain friendships like this, or like where is the line? How do you figure out where you would like cut that off?
That's a really interesting question. So I look at some of my friends that are really progressive today that I've been best friends with since we were like children, right? And I think that if we weren't best friends since we were children, they probably would have sent me some nasty messages and cut off our friendship. But because we've known each other so well, we've like grown up side by side. We've seen each other's life and like how we came to the conclusions we did. There's a lot more sympathy and understanding there. I look at this with like my cameraman, Kalen, that a lot of people are really frustrated with because he's gone full leftist now. He like hates the right. Part of that is because of his bad experiences in the right. Part of that is like, you know, just genuine political change. And normally, I think if I didn't know him for so long, I probably would have been like, hey, that was like a really shitty thing to do. Like just, you know, switch teams and start calling out all these people you used to work with. Like not a fan, don't like your views now. But because I've like known him for so long, he's had my back in so many different situations. We've, you know, lived through some pretty stressful, crazy events. In my heart, there's like a lot more sympathy and understanding, and I can kind of see the inner workings of his brain and how he, even when he's making bad decisions, I can kind of see like what would affect that mentally in him. So that's, yeah, I think. Maybe the solution is we just need to get to know people for a longer period of time before talking about politics. Because once you introduce politics first into a situation before friendship, then all those judgments come down, and it can be hard to cultivate a friendship after that. But yeah, if I had a friend doing some pretty radical acts, I think depending on how close I was and how well I knew their life and history, I could probably stay by them even well as a friend, disagreeing with them and trying to turn them on a different path.
What do you think it means, like, politically? These are, like, very broad and very difficult questions, so I don't expect you to also have, like, a super well-rehearsed answer. I'm just kind of curious. I feel like right now, if somebody says, like, would you get along with this person or not, and they gave me every political belief of that person, I don't think I've gotten any useful information. It wouldn't tell me anything about that. Like, it could literally be like a Nazi person that, you know, not shoots flare guns, but has flares in their hand about boats. I'm like, oh, I might be able to get along with this person decently. Or it could be like an ultra progressive person that lines up with 99% of my beliefs, and maybe I wouldn't get along with them at all. I have no idea. I think you would broadly agree that seems to be at least somewhat true. Yeah, that like just getting political beliefs doesn't seem to be a good indicator of whether or not you get along with a person.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've got some really good friends of mine that are progressive. Usually it's interesting. Because it's like you can have like pretty wild politics on both spectrums and still be willing to talk to each other. But there is like a point that people reach where they kind of fall off and they believe you have to cut off everyone on the other side. And I don't know where that point is. I don't even know if that cutoff thing has to do with how radical you are so much as like you'll see people that are pretty moderate Republican or leftist that won't talk to the other side. So I don't know. I think that's the big difference actually is like, are you willing to engage? Are you willing to understand and see the other as human? So even if you're like a full-on communist, if you're a full-on communist that can be like, yeah, you're a human being, you have a soul, you have complex, you know, life situation and circumstances that make you view the world the way you do, and let's have a conversation about it. I'll probably get along with that person a hell of a lot more than even a fellow right-winger that doesn't have that same view.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious, like, what are the implications, societally speaking, if that is true, that political beliefs aren't like predictors of how well people would even get along with each other? Because you'd imagine that like friendship selection is going to align. It feels very alien to say that like the way that I would ideally choose friends, and I think this is true, the way that I would ideally choose friends almost has nothing to do with their political leanings, or even like their ethical leanings, because sometimes political leanings will come from that. That feels like a really weird thing to say, but I guess like the more obviously I'm much older than you, so I've got even more experience, but it seems like you're figuring out too that like it's not always like the best way to tell who will get along with each other. I wonder sometimes if there's anything else there, or like more implications to that.
Yeah, I'd have to think on that longer. That is interesting. Have
you ever heard the
so like
oh, go ahead.
I don't think I would have been friendly with you if you asked me like 5 years ago when we first did that debate. I'd be like, there's no way. There's like no friendship compatibility there to even be able to like talk as human beings. But now I can see that a little more, and I can see it in my personal life as my friends have shifted more leftward or right wing as they've grown up. Are there many examples in television or mainstream politics of people being friends on either side of the aisle? Okay, here's an interesting thing, actually. Whenever we do see examples of people being friends in mainstream politics, usually the conclusion of that from the public isn't like, wow, look at these people across the aisle kind of uniting and treating each other like human beings instead of just hating each other. Usually the assumption is, oh, we've got a one-party system. They're all in on it.
Mm-hmm. I think most people in Congress are like friends with each other. Like they'll get on TV and scream, but like I'm pretty sure they go to like similar. Did you say it was like Shelley's in DC or whatever, where people go drink?
Shelley's, yeah.
Yeah, and then like I think like I'm pretty sure Biden has said he's friendly with like McConnell. Like these guys see each other like every day on the Senate floor. I'm sure that they have like. So I doubt that they are like as vitriolic and hateful towards each other. Maybe younger people like AOC maybe are a little bit more vitriolic. But when you spent like that much time with these people, I'm sure they get somewhat friendly.
I reckon.
Yeah.
That would be. I watched your review of my manifesto, and I saw you saying that I lived your nightmare experience when I walked into the bar and saw like Tommy, Kaylin, and George having a laugh and having beers. And I'm like, what the hell? You guys are supposed to be in public drama with each other. You're supposed to be having a massive falling out. Like you guys are trying to ruin his life and get him killed or whatever. What is happening? And you were like, that's like my nightmare situation, is to realize no one else is taking this seriously.
Yeah, it's not just a hypothetical nightmare. I've had a couple big things come to me. It's just weird as it is, through dreams. One is my current abortion stance, but another one was a long time ago. I actually had, I think it was when I was fighting with Vosh over the Rittenhouse stuff. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I had a dream that I walked into a restaurant or something, and I saw like Vosh, Hassan, Tim Pool, like all these political people like sitting down and like chilling with each other. And when I walked in, I was like, I thought you guys like all hated each other, like what's going on? And then all of them like looked at me and kind of laughed and like, dude, we're just like doing that for you two. Like you don't actually believe any of this shit, do you? And I felt like so stupid. And it's always made me really paranoid sometimes when I argue with people online. Because like, I don't know if these guys, like when I argue with Vosh sometimes, or I used to, I have this feeling like, do you actually believe this? Or is this like all a show for your audience? And I'm just like the only loser here that actually believes what I'm saying. And now I feel like a dumbass because like everybody else knows it's just a show. That's like a huge paranoia that I've always, I guess I developed after that thought.
I guess I wonder how many other circles have situations now that you say it with like Senate and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder how many other circles have situations like that where on Twitter AOC is accusing Ted Cruz of wanting to get her assassinated, and then they're at Shelley's having martinis together.
True. Maybe he actually tried to like poison her drink, and her tweet had more merit than you could have ever imagined.
True. Like what I was talking about with my right-wing stuff, there's actually a bunch of like personal politics intermingled, like AOC and Ted Cruz were having a cheeky affair or something, and then it all came out on Twitter except in political context.
Maybe. True. Have you ever heard like the meme saying that everybody is a communist in their personal life and a libertarian, like the farther out you go? You ever heard this before?
Explain that better.
It's like a cheeky little saying of like everybody personally, the closer they are to themselves, they're a communist, and the farther out you go, they're a libertarian. So the idea is that like when it comes to like,
I think I know.
Close friends and family, you'll share or do anything for them. Like the most communist person in the world, you're not gonna like tell your wife or your kids like, oh, you don't deserve my money. Like obviously they're friends and family, you'll do whatever you need to. And then like people in the neighborhood, you'll help, quite a bit too. People in the city, maybe if they live close to you. People in your state, kind of. In the country, and then in other countries, like you don't give a fuck. But basically, the farther out you go, the more kind of like libertarian you become. And then obviously, different people draw lines in different areas. But
yeah, that's why I think a lot of the community nationalism stuff, social services, a lot of it can't be solved on a federal level. It does kind of have to be addressed for smaller communities where people actually care and know the problems.
Do you have you covered any of Andrew Tate's wonderful material? Do you know who that is?
The Red Pill guy?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Oh, he's like blowing up.
I didn't realize he was still on the internet.
Oh, he's like super blowing up on TikTok now, and he's like gotten all over like Twitch and everything. So people are doing shit.
TikTok's interesting because a lot of people. I even noticed this with myself. A lot of people who kind of lost followings or can't really get traction on YouTube can on TikTok because it's an entirely different algorithm. So like I have trouble getting traction on a lot of the sites that don't like right-wingers anymore and kind of suppress our content and just push up. I mean, I guess they suppress yours below kind of mainstream media channels, but TikTok, I post something on there and it can get hundreds of thousands of views pretty easily, even though I have a small channel. I need to probably use it more. Will you do TikTok? Will you do some TikTok dances for those clicks? Get the Zoomers going?
I tried to do TikTok and I got banned. Apparently you get banned like really randomly for shit on TikTok, which is really irritating. Like if you do political stuff, you can just get banned for whatever, because I'm pretty sure on TikTok I was only posting like, because I figured the audience is going to be younger, I was posting like my most woke shit, like the most hyper woke, like pro trans, whatever, and I still got banned. I have no idea how. But the demotivating thing is I actually got the original Destiny account on TikTok. So I was tiktok.com/Destiny, and that account got banned. So I was like, fuck this shit. I'm not even gonna waste my time now. But
okay, I'm bringing. I'm talking to Stardust. You can continue to chat with us if you'd like. I'm sure. Oh, actually, is she on Twitch? I'll quickly check. Speaking of being banned from things.
Good one.
No, she's live on YouTube.
Wait, you should check her Twitch too, or tell her at least, so she doesn't get banned.
Is she live on Twitch? I can't tell. I don't know how this website works.
Oh, sounds like she's not.
2 hours ago. Okay. Oh, I think maybe she thinks I'm banned. I don't know. All right, I'll start a group call with her.
Hello?
Excuse me. Just dying.
Oh, are you coughing because you're vaping too much?
Probably, honestly.
Oh, you're a vapor? I didn't know that.
Yep.
No.
A hardcore vapor.
Don't say that word.
Vapor.
Don't refer to me as that. I don't. That's gonna be what gets me to quit, is people calling me a vapor.
Could you at least learn some like sick ass vape tricks or something?
I would just want to be able to do the Gandalf boat. That's it. You know, where do you know what I'm talking about?
The fact that you even know what that is shows how much of an addict you've already become. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
The Gandalf what?
Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck that means. Someone said, whoever told you that ODing on Fent is horribly wrong. Oh, somebody in chat disagrees. We'll get more druggy emails tonight.
Beside Bilbo, and he's like, oh yeah, it's been a long time coming. I gotta quit the ring or whatever. I don't know. And he's smoking a pipe and he blows a cloud that turns into a ship. You know what?
That's a pipe. Whatever. That's not a vape. What are you even talking about right now?
Okay. Whatever. I'm over it. In fact, I'm getting stressed out talking about this. I think I'm gonna.
Yeah,
vape.
You need to hit a vape real quick to relieve the.
So I think the biggest question I have is Squatting Slav guy, the YouTuber you said who stalked you. Did he when he approached you? Did he ask you to squat with him?
Sorry, he did not. He did not. No. Wow, that was a weird situation. I remember right after that seeing like all these like hardcore criticism videos coming out about me and feeling like, man, just like maybe I should have just had a coffee with him and been nice.
Maybe you should have squatted with him.
Maybe I should have just squatted with him.
Yeah. I'm guessing, you know, that's like a second date kind of thing. Move on to squatting. Second date.
Just squatted and vaped together. Oh, yeah, this is what I mean when I was talking about the manifesto. Like, it's totally just like a friends club. And then when like drama ever happens, I know you guys just got to get over the way I say drama. If I see anything in the chat, you're getting banned.
You guys can say it
whenever
in my chat,
drama,
safe space to make fun of our accent.
Yeah, okay. Whenever it would happen, like it wouldn't be people looking at the evidence and critically thinking about it. And behind the scenes, you could see all this play out, but the public probably wouldn't know. But like behind the scenes, everyone knew who was friends with each other, who got invited to whose parties, who got to go on whose shows based on personal preference, not really political capability. And so whenever something would go down and someone would be accused of something, doesn't matter what it was, stealing money, rape, whatever, it would be total team sports who supported them and who didn't. It would be, we personally like you, so everything said about you is a lie. We personally hate you. Everything that said about you is true. Like there was too little like objective analysis of the actual evidence available whenever that stuff happened. I think it's getting better now. I genuinely think like maybe it's just like the groups I'm engaging with now are a little different, but like a lot of the people that I've met in the Twitch sphere that I talked to, a lot of the people I've met that I didn't really know before I left politics, like Actual Justice Warrior, Nuance Bro, these kind of new people that I'm kind of engaging with and talking to, Marie Oakes, all new people. They're all like really chill and don't seem to be like that. But I don't know. I don't know if it was just that dynamo of 2016 that people got like that. No idea.
I still see a lot of rumors floating around, a lot of like very serious allegations kind of being thrown around in some of the dissident right spheres that don't have a whole lot of evidence behind them. But I think you are right that it is a little bit better. At least maybe the people are better that you're interacting with. So
yeah, maybe it's just my personal circle. I don't really.
Yeah.
I keep my circle small these days.
Yeah. For sure. So yeah, I just had I had a few questions about your video. I did like your video a lot. I guess I was curious. You said you were talking about that incident with the Airbnb. Sorry to just jump right into it.
Okay.
So one thing that stood out to me about that incident,
while you're asking the question, I'm going to get myself some water. I'm super thirsty, but I can hear you.
Okay, no problem. So you talk about that incident in which this guy gets an Airbnb for you and insists on sleeping in the same bed. You turn him down. You say like, not right now, maybe in some other time. And then later on, when you actually get the courage to turn him down, or the next day or something like that, you figured out other living arrangements. One thing that stood out to me is that it seemed like you blamed yourself for the incident. Do you think you were like it seems like to this day, when I was looking at the way you were kind of talking about it in your video, you seem to still blame yourself for that. Do you think you're being unfair to yourself?
No, like I think that that's important because taking some self-responsibility for making poor decisions is the only way that you avoid them in the future. If I took no responsibility for like, I'm going to go meet some random guy. I'm going to be like, yeah, let's hang out and play video games. I can sleep on your couch. No worries. Well, that was like a normal thing when I was growing up. Like I would go to friends' houses all the time. They'd be like, yeah, we're going to a random friend's house to play Mario Kart. You can sleep on the couch. Never any problems. But I really took for granted that I grew up in a super solid like Bible Belt community. Yeah. I guess like just the whole implication. It's the implication. I don't know if you know that meme from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but
yeah,
I probably should have realized the implication there. And now that I have that understanding and I can see the mistake I made, now I cannot make that mistake going in the future. If I don't ever acknowledge that it's a mistake, then it's not really something I should change, right? And I can't put myself in that position again.
So I do think that I definitely see your point in, there's definitely some self-responsibility in some of these situations that a person can take. But I also do think you also spoke in the same video about coming from a conservative family, and that your family kind of expected, because you're kind of, you're working with other conservative people, that you would be safe. So yeah, there is some part of it that you can take responsibility for and you can move forward and know better in the future. But there is also a part of you, like, you just didn't know better at that age, right?
Yeah, but unfortunately that's how life works a lot of the time. You have to learn the hard way. And that, that could have been a much worse experience. It wasn't, all things considered, it got by pretty well, pretty okay, right? It could have been a much, much worse learning experience. And many people do have much, much worse learning experiences, but that's all a part of life. That's how we learn, unfortunately, especially if like your direct family and your direct, situation that you grow up in and are around is not, is not necessarily reflective of the spheres you're going to go into when you're older. You're probably going to have to learn the hard way for a year or two. All part of growing up.
I got an email once from a philosophy loser. I wish I could remember what he used, but Some of the problems that we have when we conceptualize certain things, this is very 1984-esque, but sometimes our limitation is just the words we use. I know you guys have all seen there was that fucking tweet that blew up where it's like one of the biggest problems with translating from Greek is that we brought the word love over, and we only have like that one word, but in Greek there's like 4 different types of love or whatever, right? This is like a 100,000 like tweet. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's like family love, friendship love, all this other, but we just have like the one word love. When this guy emailed me, he said that when we say responsibility, sometimes we're talking about 2 really different things. I don't remember which 2 terms he used, but in one sense, there's like a moral responsibility. And then in another sense, there's just kind of like a more like responsibility, like a personal responsibility thing. And because we use the same words for a lot, people will mix up the 2. If you go out as like a young woman or whatever, and you get like super wasted some night and you're with a bunch of guys or whatever, and then some bad stuff ends up happening to you, like there is a great deal of personal responsibility that you could have exercised there that you failed to do, so that like in a personal sense like could have improved your situation. But in terms of like moral responsibility, there's 0 blame on the woman there, because she's not like choosing to get raped. She's not the one that is like, she's not the person choosing the immoral action. But because we kind of use responsibility for everything, it's hard sometimes, I think, in our heads to separate these 2 different concepts out, where we feel like if we had like a personal failing of responsibility, somehow it was like a moral failing on ourselves, and we kind of deserved like the bad thing that happened that a bad person did to us.
I do wonder if there is a level of moral failure. So we'll use a less intense example, but like if you repeatedly like leave your keys in your car, is it your fault that it got stolen? I mean, technically, like morally, it's the other person's wrong for stealing a car. But at that point, your level of laziness, continually repeating this action that is probably foolish, should be addressed. I don't know.
It's always like it's a failing of personal responsibility, 100%. But the other person is choosing to do a wrong act. So the moral agency is 100% on that person. So that the choice is always like, it might be quote unquote your fault that your car got broken into in a personal responsibility sense, but in a moral sense, never, because you're not choosing to have somebody break in your car. Yeah.
Okay. Here's something that's more of a moral sense one. Let's say you are driving your friend's car and you leave the keys in the ignition and go into a gas station or something, and you go outside and it gets stolen. Now, through your action, which was irresponsible, you've hurt someone else. Is that kind of leaning more on you've not just had a responsibility failing, but a moral failing?
I mean, you could argue there that there was a moral failing, but the moral failing isn't that the car was stolen. The moral failing is that like somebody else entrusted you to their property and you didn't take the necessary safeguards to make sure something bad didn't happen to you.
Because I think there's a lot of stuff with kids, especially, right? You do things that are kind of not intentionally bad, but you forget to put something away, this or that. A kid can get seriously hurt. And I think that can maybe lean towards more of a, like your laziness or indiscretion needs to be addressed because it's going to hurt other people. So I don't know. At what point is negligence like malicious, I guess? Yeah,
I think the biggest difference is going to be whether you're dealing with another moral agent or not, right? Like if you're a little bit reckless with your kid, like there's like a personal like responsibility there that is not good. But if somebody's like sneaking into your house and like taking your kid or kidnapping your kid from the park, like they're the ones it's not like your fault that it happened. Maybe there's like a personal responsible failing there that can be addressed for sure. But like morally, you're not choosing for your kid to get kidnapped or something.
Yeah.
So do you think that you were taking a moral responsibility in that situation?
I just think I did. I did a stupid thing. I just think I did something that was dumb. And looking back on it now, yeah. I don't think you'll change my mind on that either if you're trying to. I think
no.
We all do dumb things in our lives that aren't necessarily like a character flaw, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. I mean, I'm all about like taking personal responsibility and things like that. It's just the type of how much it's, I guess, the type of blame that you're putting on yourself. So is it like a reasonable amount of personal responsibility, or is it like actual this like more moral kind of blame?
I'd say I put enough blame on myself that it would never happen again. That's the whatever blame on myself necessary so that I don't make said stupid decision again. Whether that be a small amount or a large amount, I think that's actually the important part, right? It's taking the degree of accountability that ensures you protect yourself.
I didn't know you guys were talking before this. I'm so sorry for interrupting you guys.
No,
Oh, okay. What were you guys talking about?
Bit about the Manifesto.
She was being super pedantic about shooting flares at immigrants or something. She got really mad about it.
Okay.
That too. Should we? Unless you had if you want to do like a full proper, if you have a ton of questions about the Manifesto, we can absolutely go through that. If you don't, we can bring Pisco in to question me. Yeah.
Yeah, we could. I mean, yeah, if Pisco wants to come in and ask some questions. But I did have some other questions. Let me message him first though and see. Because I just added him as a friend, so.
Oh shit! I already know what these questions are going to be about.
Uh-oh.
You didn't have any part. Wait, well, I don't want to spoil now. I already know what it's going to be about. What do you think it's going to be about? Any part?
Spoil it for me. I have no idea.
You can't possibly imagine?
Nope.
Okay. I don't think I want to spoil.
So another thing that I noticed is you talked about how you came from this conservative family and then being part of this movement, you felt like you would be safe. What do you think was like the biggest culture shock to you when you started kind of working in politics and things like that?
It's actually, it kind of scares me looking back how quickly I adjusted. It definitely like the party scene on the right. I wasn't expecting it to be basically the exact, I guess we're all human, right? I just wasn't expecting it to be exactly the same as like any other scene, right? It's basically the same as, any club you'd go to, any young people that enjoy drinking lots, doing drugs, whatever it might be, just it's all kept secret.
You thought you were going to be like doing conferences on Saturday night and all going to church together on Sunday morning.
I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't really expecting that. But obviously I get it. People are human beings. They enjoy having a drink, going out with friends, getting a bit rowdy. It's just, it becomes a problem when obviously becomes a problem when you're an alcoholic or whatever. But then the other problem is when you start taking these harsh moral judgments towards others. Like, look at this degenerate at the club taking, 5 shots and twerking. And it's like, well, you were kind of doing that last week. That's what I took a big issue with. Not the fact that people have these failings or there's these weak points or, go out and have a drink every once in a while, which there's nothing wrong with. It was seeing people, the hypocrisy, obviously. I think that's what anyone in any political movement takes the most issue with.
So Lycan as well wanted to ask some questions. Do you mind if I add him to the group?
Yeah, for sure. Anyone can ask me questions.
It's going to be a whole roast in here. Oh, man.
Get hit the vape.
Stop! I thought you said you were quitting.
I'll bring Lycan in first, and then I'll bring Pisco in a little bit after. So.
Sorry, someone just asked me, Lauren, how was the backlash? How's it been so far? Any lawsuits? I've gotten some private messages, but nothing too bad. So far, it's been mostly support. Like I said, I don't think there's any. I know there's unless someone edited a screenshot or made something up. Everything I've said is absolutely truthful. I was very careful to make sure it was. So
do you expect any responses from?
Tommy Robinson said he's going to do a response, which will be interesting because I think I had the most receipts for his section.
Oh boy, that's going to be
all on video, and it's all on his own video, right?
Isn't he still active too, right?
Yeah, he just had a book launch yesterday.
Yeah.
It's tough because I don't have anything personally against Tommy at all. God bless him. Hope his book launch goes well. I didn't want Lucy Brown to have to live for the rest of her life holding that burden and having people hate her for something she didn't do.
Yeah, that was probably one of the more interesting parts of your video. I think was talking about was his name Muhammad?
Ali Dawa.
Or Alidawa, yeah, sorry. It was, I get all of them mixed up.
All of them? What do you mean?
No,
by
I
that?
swear it's not racism. It's not racism, okay? Those are my people, kind of, okay? So it's it's not racism.
All brown people are just the same? Okay.
They're all the same. People? They're all the same, yeah. No.
Not all brown people, all Muslims, okay? Get it right.
Yeah, all Muslims.
Are you Muslim?
Yeah, I come from a Muslim family. I
put up myself. Are you Muslim?
She's culturally Muslim.
I'm
That's
atheist.
the correct.
Yeah,
you say culturally Muslim. Okay.
So she's saying they're all the same as her.
No, you can't even say that though, because the people like Alidawa, people like who all follow that type of person, they get really mad if you say cultural Muslim. They'll be like, "Well, you can't say that. You're watering down the deen, and all that." And so they don't like it. They don't even like ex-Muslim. They just don't want you to use Muslim anywhere in anything. So
we want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah.
Lycan.
Steven, what's up? Lauren, do you ever think about
Lycan?
Oh, you beautiful queen. Do you ever think about the fact that
stop posting lewds on your Twitter? I'm gonna have to unfollow you. It's
Lycan, keep it up. Lycan, they're beautiful.
I think I've actually muted your account. I don't.
Why?
I have to do the same thing.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. I came here to talk serious politics, but I guess if we're gonna go down that road, are they offensive to you? Is it because you're trying to be pure for your husband and they give you thoughts that you're ashamed of? What's going on?
Okay, we're cutting off this conversation.
No, I have to know because hold on, because
I can answer this.
Every major account that ever unfollows me, the reason they give is the fucking lewds. Chill the fuck out.
Base.
So I want to know. Why the lewd follow you so much?
Wait. Start an OnlyFans. If there are people follow you on Twitter.
They're not that lewd. I'm in swim trunks.
We've had debates
Plenty of people
on politics. I follow you to see your points on politics, and sometimes you respond and have engagements. People will follow you on OnlyFans if you want to go put that stuff there. Like leave it to the cesspit where
Instagram.
Do you feel so uncomfortable?
Yeah, there are people with OnlyFans that just do bikinis. All right, you know what you're doing. You know what you're up to.
I know. Yes, I know what I'm doing. I'm getting a little bit of
here's the issue
attention.
for me is if I pull up Twitter in public and I see some dude with barely anything on and only his junk is covered, and now everybody around me who sees my phone is going to think I'm looking at dudes.
Hey, you know what? Wait, are you a lesbian and you're
No, I'm not a lesbian. They're going to think I'm looking at lewd pictures in public, and then, then it's weird.
Listen, I'm just saying I feel I'm being persecuted for being comfortable in my sexuality and my body. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. It's actually art. It's
it really is. Have you seen me?
Anyway.
Thank you, Eldon.
Anyway, the type of hypocrisy from the Republican Party when it comes to abortions, when it comes to homosexuality, when it comes to any of those when it comes to drugs, you have these people doing these things behind the scenes. Is there really any comparable example of liberal hypocrisy?
Yes. All the time. Like, have you seen Hassan? Have you seen the BLM founders
No.
Hold on.
I said liberal. I didn't say dumb fuck fake socialist. I said liberal.
Yeah. Like from the COVID stuff. That was like 24/7.
Wait, hold on. Like
climate change.
Hold on, because this would be
owning
totally,
like private jets and flying around.
This is what
climate change.
Yeah, sure. This is
what. Let her soy out.
This is what conservative Lycan would have said. If you had showed me fucking like my conservative candidate of choice or person of choice, like having a little party and during the COVID time while they were saying, hey, you need to mask up, I'd have been like, come on, guys. It's a small little gathering. Odds are they have access to better testing than we do. There's nothing really that wrong with them gathering.
No, we're talking about people traveling when they weren't supposed to, not wearing masks.
So you're not talking about the California governor having a dinner or anything like that.
I'd have to go pull up this, or people go. Yeah, there's like 1,000 examples of these in every
all of these things. I would have
get.
Yeah, sure. We're talking COVID. I'm not talking COVID. I'm talking about the more serious stuff.
Okay,
I'm talking about when they're legislating
stuff,
against women's rights. When they're talking about women's rights, when they're talking about homosexuality and gay marriage and things like that, when they're talking about like the groomer shit, and then you find out some fucking conservatives getting pegged by a trans woman, like, then it's maybe fucking chill.
So this is where you're going to see a big difference for sure when it comes to like private and personal life stuff. Obviously, on all of the political policy stuff, I think everyone's a bit of a hypocrite.
So hold on, wait.
What's the saying? It's like
what you just said.
If you want to catch the left in hypocrisy, follow the money. If you want to catch the right, follow the sex or whatever. But when it comes to like personal life stuff, conservatives have significantly more personal life restrictions on them through their ideology than the left ever have. Oof. So you're obviously just going to consistently find more hypocrisy on the right.
But when we're using the platforms to advocate against those rights for people
much higher. Yeah, of course, because you're going to have hypocrites and grifters, I hate that freaking word, in everything that gravitate towards positions of power.
Well, no, sure, yes. You know what? If you want to say like liberals are out there saying that conservative politicians
are out
here taking money, go ahead.
Feminism stuff. You always see these. I have to find his name. There was a big writer who got called out like last year. He was like something the second. I gotta.
Jesus.
You're talking about like some guy saying they're a feminist and then it's some sexual harassment
feminist, shit. Journalist. Right.
That's an issue with dudes, though, I feel.
Yeah, that's an issue with dudes. That's not like there are going to be a bunch of progressive dudes that in the same way call themselves feminists and do some creepy shit.
It's like the same thing with conservative dudes
Jack Smith, I think was his name. Jack Smith.
Conservative dudes who claim to have like family values and then, fuck around and stuff. So
yeah, hardcore feminist. He was like the go-to feminist guy at Mike. Jack Smith was accused by multiple women of sexual misconduct and got let go from the company. It was like a whole thing. So I think that stuff is a big thing you see. And then also on racism or homophobia, all
hold on, qualify it. Give me some examples, because I can give you a ton of examples of anti-trans, anti-gay, all this other
like Hassan calling a politician who he disagrees with.
Sure, but you know what Hassan isn't doing? Hassan isn't using his platform and or political power through election to prevent the rights of homosexuals. So while Hassan's being a dumb fucking piece of shit, stupid ass loser calling a gay person a fucking
yes,
we're not talking about that.
There are people affecting policy saying no one should be allowed to use that word, that anything that's considered hate speech or racism should be banned.
They're affecting policy.
Meanwhile, they're going around saying cracker 24/7 and yelling
sure,
slurs
but that in no way, shape, or form is
and
really disenfranchising any groups. Whereas you have conservative
it seems like you always have like a weasel out of any hypocrisy I show you on the left.
Because we're talking about hypocrisy that's actually meaningful, right? Like if you want to talk about
how is it not? Wait. How is racism not meaningful hypocrisy?
Racism is meaningful, but
how is calling Steven a Gusano like 24/7?
Okay, wait, hold on. Before we go to this, Lycan, define what do you mean by meaningful, so that we stop like giving an example.
When I talk about meaningful, I'm talking about someone in a position where you are a politician voting against gay marriage or something like that, or advocating on your platform against gay marriage, and you have a giant swath of this country being against gay marriage because of the words you're saying. And then you're fucking dicking down dudes. That is a significant level of hypocrisy compared to someone like Hassan, who in many ways is on the right of systemic racism and shit like that, but he's saying the word cracker. Like that is way less impactful than someone like fucking Anthony Weiner.
I mean, I think that
it's hypocrisy, sure, but we're talking about actual impact. You know what? Most of this online
it has to be someone that's passing policy.
No, it doesn't have to be someone that's passing policy. It has to be someone that's on the side pushing for policy.
You put so many like bumpers around this conversation of what it has to be. It's
okay, wait. So on your side, you would say like an example of this would be a Republican lawmaker is anti-abortion, but his mistress gets an abortion, right?
Exactly.
But
like that is way more significant.
And you think there's no more? You think there's no equivalent on the left of people doing something like that?
No, I don't. I'm asking for an example.
You don't think someone that's like hardcore. You don't think someone like Leonardo DiCaprio, who's petitioning at the United Nations to have more carbon tax and climate change policy, who's flying a private jet everywhere, is not comparable to that?
Okay, just as a real quick fact check on Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm pretty sure he's like the worst example to bring up, because doesn't he like carbon offset literally every single thing he does?
It doesn't fucking matter if he's flying
if you're paying money to like carbon offset.
Well,
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want anyone else to if you're not contributing to the environment. But I'm pretty sure he literally carbon offsets every single thing he does, like even with his dwelling. But I understand that.
Okay, but it's something like that. There's a lot of examples of people like that. But would that be an appropriate example to you?
Yeah, like for example, I believe in climate change, and I believe that climate change is serious, needs to be taken seriously. But you know what? A cruise is one of my favorite fucking vacations. But I also have no impact on anything in life. So we're talking about the high level people. We're talking about people who actually impact it. We're talking about people who drive the narrative. So when you're driving an anti-gay narrative and you get caught fucking someone in the ass, yeah, I think that is the ultimate hypocrisy we're talking about here. So if we want to talk about Hassan talking about socialism and stupid shit like that, that's fucking dumb. No one's socialist in America. It's not going to happen, and it's conservative fear mongering.
Okay, so what about people who like want to defund the police, calling the police? Like you see these videos all the time where they're like,
those are fucking hypocrites.
I hate the police, and then as soon as something goes wrong, they get on their phone and they're like, holy shit,
absolutely,
get your asses over here. Why are you taking so long?
Yeah, they're dumb fucks, but you know what? They're not in any meaningful way.
Oh my gosh. Holy shit! Nothing that I give is meaningful.
No, hold on. I just first of all bit the bullet. I led with biting the bullet and saying, yeah, those people are fucking stupid.
Okay, great.
So I started with that. I haven't heard you say anything about these fucking conservatives that are calling for anti-gay legislation. I just did a whole video
talking about how the hypocrisy is bad. Like
you talked about why hypocrisy is bad, but you didn't then do the follow-up, which is like, and therefore maybe if these people are so into it while secretly while actually going against it publicly, maybe you know what? Publicly, it shouldn't be that bad. I don't hear you saying any of that.
I actually disagree. She talked about the dissident right, and she said she said that she felt the failures of the dissident right weren't because of deplatforming, but more because of the dissident right itself failing itself. I thought that was a pretty interesting observation.
Lycan, did you even watch the video?
Whatever Destiny watched, I watched the majority of that. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Based.
Okay, so what? I think the
no, I came
barriers.
Here. Wait.
I think the barriers in this conversation you've set up for me are a bit ridiculous. But what I will give you is that you're obviously just going to have more people on the right hitting and being involved in these hypocrisy scandals when they have significantly more social restrictions on themselves than the left within their ideology. That's just an obvious
I don't know if that's
thing
necessarily true. Just as a counterexample to that, like I think that people on the left are a little bit more extreme when it comes to like how to treat women or sexual harassment. So you'll get something like Trump will have like the grab 'em by the pussy tapes that come out and nobody really cares. But Al Franken actually stepped down from the Senate because of like comedy skits he did like 15 years ago. I think that would be an example of like the left holding themselves to a higher standard on one particular issue versus conservatives.
Ooh, someone just made a good point in my chat. Lauren, an example for liberals being hypocritical would be their support of affordable housing, but when these changes are implemented in their own communities, they will go to their city councils and object. I think that's pretty common for, a lot of people. Would that be a reasonable example, Lycan, or is this doesn't quite hit your threshold like everything else I've said?
I think it doesn't hit the level of significance that I was coming in at. But I think that is I mean, I have no problem calling my fucking side a hypocrite when they're hypocritical. Yeah, so if they are calling for affordable housing, but like liberals, not all liberals are versed in engaging on housing issues the way that conservatives are all engaging on LGBT issues. Would you agree with that?
Sorry,
like if you wanted to show me fucking a politician who is advocating for those kind of things, and they were at one of their HOA meetings, and someone got them on video advocating against some, better housing like ruling. Yeah, I'd say absolutely fuck those people. But that I don't see that at the level.
I think like a big personal hypocrisy one that would be maybe comparable to the sex stuff would be just definitely the policing and race stuff. I think. And
you're gonna get me here.
There's there's very little acknowledgement from the left often that, the police are in Black communities because there's high crime there. There's always very little acknowledgement of that. Sometimes they'll just deny the high crime altogether, but then they'll never go and live there. They'll be like, wow, people are afraid of these communities. That's bigotry. They shouldn't be. The police should just leave. It would be perfectly fine. It's all the police causing the problems. You will never find their asses living in those cities. Never. Or those areas.
Unless they represent them in Congress.
Yeah, and they can pay a lot for private security.
Districts are usually pretty big too. I don't think you're going to find somebody like living in the hood being a representative generally, right?
I don't think they have to, as long as they are accurately and appropriately representing the people within their district.
I don't think there's much acknowledgement. I think that that's a big oversight for the left that they should touch on more, that the right usually gets, is just being more anti-crime. I don't know why a lot of progressives like they'll literally be making excuses for shoplifters half the time. It's crazy.
Well, hold on, wait. There's a difference between acknowledging that like you are not, it's not your fault that you ended up in this position, but you are responsible for your actions. That is a pretty fair way to look at systemic problems within this country. Would you not agree?
Yeah, but when
it's not your fault, but you are responsible.
So wait, what kind of crime are you talking about?
So if we talk about any, if we talk about any kind of like, if we talk about any kind of bad area upbringing where we look at issues with those communities and how they produce certain number of, you know, whatever criminals or people who engage in some sort of illegal activity, you have to look at why that is. You have to look at the system they're brought up in. You have to look at the environment they're brought up in. And you can say, you know what? We understand that by your environment, the cards were stacked against you. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for the actions you took. And that's what I'm talking about.
No, but responsibility tends to not really... I mean, most of it goes on, oh, the cops escalated it. This is the cops' fault.
Well, no. We're not talking about that. We haven't got to
people
the
aren't even,
cops shooting
people aren't even
someone
putting the
or anything like that.
responsibility on,
well, hold on.
a lot of people in the States.
When you say the cops' fault, like if you want to talk about over-policing, like do you deny that over-policing has any impact on an area?
What do you mean by over-policing? Because the majority of times police are in an area, it's because they're being called there a lot. So what we call over-policing is maybe it's actually the residents' fault for calling them too much.
Not at all. Over-policing is an over-representation of police in one particular area, over-enforcing crime. So a great example is marijuana laws. You are 3 times more likely to go to jail or be arrested for marijuana possession as a black person versus as a white person.
Yeah, but what do you think that might be? What do you think that might be linked to?
Are you saying that black people carry more weed than white people? Or is it potential?
What do you think this might be linked to, Lycan?
What do you mean? Why don't you just tell me?
How about the fact that black people just tend to get arrested more often because they commit more crime and thus are probably going to be found with marijuana and be searched by police more than white people?
Well, hold on. Do you think that all those people found with marijuana and prosecuted for marijuana
usually these bullshit,
because there was an initial crime first? Or do you think it's maybe a few more extrajudicial searches, a few, you know, little like, hey, we're targeting black people? That's the problem. I'd
have to see solid examples that were like, yeah, we targeted you because you're a black person, which maybe they do exist, maybe they are out there, and I'd have to see the research on this. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that overrepresentation is probably linked to them just being arrested more often. So of course, if they have it. And then the other thing is lots of smaller charges are used to add up so that if someone has done something wrong or they're a repeat offender, sometimes cops will try to find charges that are so like if you get pulled over by a cop and you've got a tail light out, half the time they'll let you go. But if you're being a real dick or you've had lots of problems in your past, they'll write that down. So I think a lot of this, I don't know, I'd have to look at the research more, but some of this could be attributed to them trying to bring charges down to, you know, add sentencing time, whatever it might be, to other crimes that they're already investigating or in the courts for. And then I think a lot of it would probably just have to do with the fact that their arrest rates in general are higher, so there'd be more searches going on. But if you could some evidence that is like, yeah, we're doing it because you're black, then I'd be happy to take a look at that.
I think you both agree on what you're saying. Just a quick, so Lycan and Lauren, I think you're both saying that black people are more likely to get arrested for having marijuana, not because they use marijuana more, but because they're in areas that are policed more for whatever reason. Therefore, they're more likely to get arrested for it, right? I don't think you disagree on that.
Sure.
You're just saying you're both talking about it from
but I think Lycan is trying to make it sound like the policing it's not necessary in some of these areas, which I'm kind of disagreeing and saying actually in a lot of cases when there's what appears to be an overrepresentation of cops, usually that's because there is a lot of genuine crime and they'll pick up on smaller crime as well.
Why is there so much crime in those areas? Why is
because so black people are poor and poverty causes you to commit crime.
Why are those black communities so poor?
There's a lot of historical issues there. There's a lot of government issues there. There's a lot of things that add up.
Have led to problems within those.
A lot of poor policies made. Yeah, a lot of fatherlessness that happens.
Why is there so much fatherlessness in the Black community?
I mean, some people on the right, they'll point to the fact that there was like massive incentives created for single mothers at that time within Black communities.
Do you think they're just those mothers just
some people will point to welfare culture, welfare state. I don't know. I'd have to look at it a little more.
No, the reason is because of all those. You hit on it right in the first part. There was a lot of governmental policy and a bunch of other things that made those areas kind of shit. And then you started with the over policing because people were like, oh well, there's some crime happening here, and
but
probably
the
also
policing
racism
is in response to crime.
No, hold on.
Like the solution isn't to get rid of the cops.
Started with racism. The policing. This isn't just something that happened in the last 10 fucking years. The policing started with racism. So you have the over-policing based on racist tendencies 100 years ago plus, and that continued, and that's why we call it systemic.
But do you think we solve the issue of
do you think we solve the issue by over-policing and arresting a bunch of black men, taking the black men out of the community, and then saying, this is just fatherless behavior. Wonder why they don't have fathers.
No, we do things like change policy around marijuana, which both the left and the right, for the most part, other than some very traditional.
Sure, that's marijuana, yes, but overall, that will still have a ton of police in the area over policing.
Because there's a lot of crime being committed there. It's not over. Oh, you're saying
yes. So we ought to probably invest in these communities a little bit, shouldn't we?
It's not an over policing problem. It's an over crime problem.
No, you're missing the part where you have to look beyond the now. You have to look way past to why these areas are over policed. The statistic that if we're going to go down your path of it's because there's so much crime, we have to look at the reason why there is so much crime, and we have to go way back to over policing in these communities.
You think too much policing caused the crime?
I think that too much policing destabilizes the area and causes more crime. Yes.
Okay, so what do you think would happen if we got rid of the police?
Well, hold on. We're not talking about defunding the police. We're talking about appropriate enforcement of the law. When you have, I use the one example of marijuana because that's the one I have the best statistical knowledge of. But the reality is, no, hold on, no. I use that one because that's the one I have the best statistical knowledge of. But the reality is that cops are more likely to enforce laws against black people than they are against white people. So while they're in these areas and while they're doing these things, they are enforcing it against black people more, destabilizing those communities and contributing to the system that creates more criminals. So yeah, sure, you can say, more crime is happening
wait. Yeah, everyone likes to use
source.
Everyone likes to use marijuana as an example because most people today are like, it's pretty bad that we're putting people in jail for having marijuana. Most people agree with that, and those policies are changing slowly but surely across the world. What about something like sexual crime? Like, is that, it's an over-policing fault. That guy raped her because he was poor. Like, there's... I think that we actually need to put... No, I'm saying that this whole idea of focusing so much on the past for people's shitty actions today, it's a part of it, but I think the left put way too much weight on the past for shitty things people do today.
Not at all. Like, Steven, I'm gonna ask for a lifeline here just because maybe you can articulate it better than me. Okay. But like, you know what I'm getting at with as far as like shit that's happened over the last 100+ years when it comes to policing and how that's still echoing throughout black communities.
Yeah, I think the issue you've got is there's a you're talking about the diagnosis side, which I think is worth talking about. But she's talking about the fixing the problem side, and I think these two things become disconnected. The problem side. So here's the issue, right? There are a couple of things that we kind of have to address. There is more crime in black communities than in non-black communities.
Absolutely.
Therefore, there needs to be more policing in black communities versus non-black communities. Therefore,
but how that policing is executed.
You can say how the policing is executed, but so long as there are laws on the books saying that marijuana is illegal, it's going to be a fact of the matter that they're going to get caught more for having marijuana. That's going to be a statistical artifact of the necessity of the policy. right? There's no way around that aside from changing those laws. So I think it would be good. So like a good pushback is like, we should get rid of marijuana laws because it's causing a lot of like dumb shit due to an artifact of policing in majority black neighborhoods. That's a really good argument. But saying like we need to cut back on the amount of police available when there are more serious crimes going on, like sexual crimes or murders or vandalism, is probably not good.
No, and no part of me, I don't think, anyway, if I'd said that, I'll retract with the I misspoke part, but did I say anything like that? Like where we should stop?
Well, that's what it sounds like you're leading when you're saying like it's not fair that they get hit
okay,
more.
So
well,
yeah.
Okay, so then what is your prescription? Because I think that's what Lauren's getting at. What is the prescription?
The prescription is that we deal with things like marijuana laws. We find out laws that, you know, are archaic.
I don't disagree with you. And I've been
I know you agree with that part, sure. But then we have to look at the next step, which is we have to invest in these communities. We have to help these communities get out of this cycle, because we can't just say, okay, cool, we took away marijuana laws, everything's fine. There's still going to be the cycle of poverty and poverty leading to other issues within those communities. And we have to address those. And step by step, we do address those, and those communities will get better. But Republicans don't want to invest in that. Law and order Republicans, when they say that stupid shit.
Hold on, let's throw more money at.
Because yeah, you know, well, hold on. Yeah, sure. If we want to, like, we can belittle money and say, you know, throwing money doesn't do anything. No, you have to.
Yeah, well, did the massive monetization
you have to effectively employ the money
really help? Yeah, sure. Exactly.
Like when people talk reparations, you know, I don't think about cutting checks for every black person in America. I think about understanding these communities have problems because of well beyond the time of slavery.
I think we're past. If we just throw money at it, it'll go away. I think we're past that.
No, I'm not talking about throwing money at it. There's difference between.
Okay, what would you put the money into?
I would put it into school systems. I would put it into.
There's a lot of funding going into school systems in poor communities right now. Probably more needed, better people, but there's already a lot.
Well, hold on. There's
happening.
a difference between throwing money into the school system and effectively employing the money within the school system. And that's one of the big issues with any time the liberals want to throw money at shit. It's like, it's not just about the money. You have to actually do the right thing with the money in order for it to be effective. And I think that's what it comes down to with, you know, there needs to be a lot of social programs, community programs.
I don't know we're not having an argument. Like no one on this planet is going to disagree with you when you say we need to
no one's going to disagree with it until it comes down to fucking legislation and action and doing
okay,
it.
All right. What's a legislation that you felt was really well thought out, the money was going to go to a good place, that Republicans knocked down when it comes to black schooling?
At the moment, I don't have an example for that, but I do know that I live in fucking Baltimore with this shit schooling system. You know, hold on, give me 2 seconds to Google something.
Yeah, okay.
How are we doing, guys?
Good. I'm gonna go get myself some water.
Make sure to get another vape cartridge too while you're out there.
Yeah, just my.
There was something.
Like, are you here?
And if yeah, no, I'm fine.
Okay, wait. Like,
if anyone in chat remembers
it, it's not a more money thing. Okay, something that liberals are failing at that we need to do better is money is good, but it has to be used in an efficacious manner.
That's what I said. Did you not hear that?
Sure. Well, but you hit on that more, right? It's not just a matter of like throwing, because the problem is that, because what she'll point to, what a lot of conservatives point to, is that there are a lot of like school systems in the United States that get a fuck ton of money poured into them, and they don't produce the good results. So something that I've learned in my state, and I think this is probably true throughout the entire United States, I think it tends to be the case that private schools are usually less funded than public schools. I think that's almost always the case. But they produce like infinitely better outcomes, probably due to a lot of other reasons around them. So like, it's not so much like just the money, it's identifying like positive programs that make positive changes in people's lives and then funding those, and not just like incessantly ratcheting up the costs or whatever.
And that's what I said. I said, it's not just about pouring money into it. And I even called out liberals for thinking it's just about more money. It's not. It's how you employ that money that impacts these communities.
Sure.
So like, yeah, you can give a school $1 million, but if they don't fucking buy the right things with it or use it to fund the right people or programs, it's nothing. It does nothing.
So something that would be good, I just haven't done the research on this because fuck school. So I can't tell you off the top of my head, but like, so this is an example of what sounded like a good idea to me, but apparently for a whole bunch of reasons it didn't work. The George Bush era program of No Child Left Behind seems like an interesting idea because you're trying to give money to schools contingent upon the success of children in those schools. Now that seems like a good idea because you're giving money with strings attached. If you produce better children and test scores, then we'll be able to like fund your school more. But for some reason, I don't know why, but that failed miserably. So that would be like a good program to research. Like what was the goal? Why did it fail?
I think part of it, if I'm recalling correctly, is that, you know, already underfunded places had worse results, so they would continue to stay underfunded, right?
Maybe that might be the case, yeah. It feels to me like the issue is that, like, I've said this a million times, I think we've solved like all the easy problems in society. Like, when it comes to racism, like, we don't hang black people anymore. When it comes to sexism, there's not literally a guy saying like, you can't go to school to be an engineer as a woman. Like, all of our problems are way more embedded at multiple levels. So when it comes to like, how do we reduce crime? It's probably not just one thing. It's probably going to be like supporting families more, getting rid of stupid laws that like throw fathers in jail for having marijuana, providing better economic opportunities, changing housing policy so people don't need cars to get to work. It's probably going to be like 20 things to fix like one problem at this point, because all of the problems are like multifaceted. But the kick to conservatives here is conservatives will always just say, oh, personal responsibility, or the community has to help. Wait. But like conservatives never have a good answer for anything, because none of that shit works.
They never have a good answer for anything.
Hold on. Wait, shut up, because I want Destiny. You're gonna get that. I want Steven.
Yeah, okay.
Explain the personal responsibility piece to Lauren. Like the why that's not, you can't just say that about someone in the black community.
Well, because if they were going to take the personal responsibility to fix their shit, they would have already done it. It's just like a worthless throwaway comment.
But why isn't personal responsibility easy
that's a yikes
for the black
comment,
community?
But,
because conservatives don't have any more personal responsibility than liberals do. The reality is that they're a product of their environment. When you look at a conservative that has a high level of personal responsibility, it's not because they chose to. It's probably because they had a good family that cultivated those ideas early on. They were probably part of a good community that reinforced those social values early on. And they probably lived in an area that provided them the economic and familial and housing opportunities to let them carry on like that. So when a person like that comes out of that area and then they look at somebody living in the ghetto and they're like, oh, dude, you just need to have personal responsibility like I do. Well, hold on. It takes a village to raise a child. You didn't
I'm not making that argument, and I haven't. I've literally just been saying to throw money at things. Even when you kind of focus on specific bits in schools isn't necessarily helpful. Someone was just sending me, someone in my chat said, you know, in Baltimore, they spend more than $16K per student, and over 50% of students graduate with less than a 2.0 GPA. But this is probably more substantial, is this Cambridge study, which shows, I can link it in the chat, over the last 50 years in developed countries, evidence has accumulated that only about 10% of school achievement can be attributed to the schools and teachers, while the remaining 90% is due to the characteristics associated with the students. The study is called Education and Intelligence, Pity the Poor Teacher, because student characteristics are more significant than teachers or schools.
Yeah, so I hate to be that guy, but I'll always be that guy, okay? I'm the guy that watched The Wire and recommends The Wire to everybody. You've seen The Wire, right, Lycan?
No, I haven't.
What? The best example of this. Yeah, I mean, like the best example of this is going to be, I think it's season 5 where they do the schools, or it might be season 4. But you've got like the super well-meaning cop that retires from the police force and goes to be a teacher, and this guy like wants to do everything he can. He wants to tutor his students. He like, I think he spends personal money like buying books for some. He does everything he can. But the reality is that by the time those students have gotten to class, shit is already over. A lot of them are tired because they're either working or they're taking care of siblings. A lot of them don't give a fuck because like, why am I learning to be an engineer when my dad is a drug dealer or in jail or dead? Like, I know that's not the path for me. They look around in their communities. There's no jobs for these people. These guys aren't going to college, right? They don't have like the white track to Harvard or whatever that they feel like other people do. So, but like that's the issue, is that by the time the kid even shows up in class, I guess to borrow from Lauren's stat here, like 90% of the work is already done. This is why I personally, and I could be wrong, but just in my experience of going to a private school, I feel like private schools probably aren't really that much better than public schools, really. I feel like the reason why they seem better is because if your kid is going to a private school, it's because the parents really want that kid to succeed. And when you've got a whole bunch of kids going to a school where all of the families are super bought into the concept of those children succeeding, they're probably going to do pretty well, even if the school is underfunded or overfunded or whatever, I would guess. But on the other end, I think there are some basics where we all should feel like there are some like fundamental level of funding that should exist in schools. And I think there are some data-driven things that are really positive. One is every child in the United States, and if you believe anything different, you are a heartless monster that should literally be guillotined. Every child in the United States should have access to like free, like some kind of food for lunch. If the family can afford to pay for it, go for it. But if they can't, it should be provided for free. That's like one of the few like ultra data-driven things that like when kids eat more and their brains are fueled, they can learn more and do better in school. That's like one program that every single school in the country should be able to do. Like free lunch for kids that can't afford it. That and like things like basic like air air conditioning. Believe it or not, somebody can Google this, like AC, studies, school achievement or whatever. Having air conditioning in classrooms, I think, is actually like somewhat of a predictor of success too. That schools that like can keep the air cool, you don't have to learn in like 85-degree classrooms or like 30-degree classrooms if you're a Canadian. That this is like a positive thing for children. Like, there are some basics for funding that we can probably get. Your gym shouldn't have like a fucking leaky roof or something, you know?
Yep. I don't think anyone disagrees with these points.
Base.
By the way, I only have about 20 more minutes. So if Stardust, I'm sorry, I feel like we put you in the corner.
It's okay.
I invited other people on, or maybe you feel like, oh, I don't even have to work today. I can just chill.
No, it's fine. I wrote out a whole bunch of things, but I feel like this is more interesting. So I'm going to add Pisco to the call.
Oh,
so
shit.
Fair enough.
Good luck.
Lauren, I still love
man.
you, by the way. I just want to make that known.
Okay, Lycan. You're okay too. You're all right.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
No.
Loud and
Yep.
clear.
How's everyone doing?
Great now.
Good, good.
you think you
I'm
can
getting hungry, so if I start getting angry, that's why.
I'll try not to make you any angrier.
Oof, she's already
Yeah.
backpedaling. Nice.
Listen, no, I watched your doc. Would you call it a documentary, or are you?
No, everyone's decided to call it a documentary, but no, it's just the Manifesto.
Okay. Well, what's the
It would be a
difference?
lot better
Manifesto is
produced.
more
If it
internal
were a
and-
documentary, I wouldn't have edited it. I would have hired a professional editor.
Got it. So you did all the work editing and.
Yeah. I mean, I had friends help me behind the scenes, but no one who wants to be named.
Right. Well, I appreciated seeing sort of your perspective, especially sort of the early days of Lauren, and I like to see sort of what was influencing you at the time. I thought it was super interesting, and I was having a great time. But there was one point in the documentary that like got me a little bit upset.
Uh-oh.
In fact, like pretty upset.
Yeah.
And I want to start by making sure I understand that aspect from your perspective. And that is, you make a lot, I think, of the free speech issues with your immigration status. Is that right?
Sorry, repeat that?
That you make a lot of the fact that that there were conditions on your entry and your visa to be in Australia, that there were issues related to what you had said in the past.
Yeah.
And you felt that was unfair and unjust, right?
Yep.
You wanted to be with like the family that you loved and to be with them. And Australia was putting conditions on you.
Yes, but the conditions, I know this is where people would point out the hypocrisy. Haha, look, Lauren, now don't you support open borders? No, absolutely not. I don't think conditions for getting into a country should be based on political opinions that half the country share. Like, you shouldn't be not allowed in a country because you have criticisms of Christianity or criticisms of Islam or whatever, especially when a large portion of said country feel the exact same way. If you want to block someone from coming into a country because they don't have the financial stability and will have to rely on the government for that, if you want to block someone because they have a severe criminal record or because they're a terrorist, totally reasonable. If you want to block someone because they came in illegally and didn't apply the right way, which I did, totally reasonable. I do not think it is reasonable. I don't think it's okay to block people because of their political opinions, even if they are someone who has political opinions different than me. If there was a Muslim that's like really hardcore Islamic, let's say they even defend the like Sharia law or something. That's a bit crazy, actually. But let's say that in their personal life, or they posted on Twitter or Facebook something, but they've applied to legally come in. They've said, yep, when I'm there, I'll follow all of your laws. Yep, I have the financial stability to come in. I just don't think it would be justified to say, well, you got these political opinions, so you're going to have to never speak. Here's the thing. This is how I know it wasn't because I'm actually a danger, like a physical danger, is they would let me in so long as I wouldn't speak publicly about my opinions. So it was literally entirely a thought crime thing.
Let's talk about that. So in your mind, that there are justified reasons not to let people in, and there are unjustified reasons not to let people in.
Yeah, I'm for legal immigration. I'm not. This is the whole like ridiculous.
We're defining this.
I'm not against immigration.
Excuse me, Lauren. We're defining the scope of what is legal immigration. Everything that happened to you was above board. You'd agree, according to the laws of Australia, correct?
Sorry, repeat that.
The question we're in right now, we're defining what is legal. and what happened to you was legal, right?
Technically, it's legal, but I think you know, the problem is when you have like border security discretion, or you have this gray zone where the government can kind of just make up their mind. I think those are really quote unquote problematic, as much as I hate that word, laws. I think it's reasonable to have vacuum where you've got these distinctions that are like, yep, if you have an extensive criminal record, then you go on vacuum. Yep, if you have been engaged with and partaken in terrorism, you go on vacuum. But to have rules that are like, if someone in this department doesn't like your character, which is what was my problem, is my character assessment.
You think good moral character is not a permissible? You think good moral character?
Yeah, right. But it depends who's defining what good moral character is. Because if I decide good moral character is, you're gay, you can't come in, no pooftas, right? Well, then, you know, it depends who's defining good moral character.
If you don't mind, I want to sort of go along my train of thought. Is that okay with you? Sure. My train of thought is, in your mind, there are permissible and impermissible grounds on which to deny someone entrance into your country. That's correct, right? Okay.
Yep.
Like, we can hear you typing, just a heads up.
So, for instance, it would be, in your mind, just like having wrong views, that would be an impermissible ground to deny someone entrance into a country. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think wrong think should be a crime.
What about having the wrong culture?
I still, it depends what aspects of culture. So if culturally you can't assimilate to the laws and culturally you can't assimilate to the language, I think language and laws are absolute necessities.
What is culture if not an extension of speech and values? Australia says that, assuming your version of events, Australia says, Lauren Southern, you don't fit into our culture.
Okay, but here's the problem. They're not really putting that in fairly, right? Half of their immigrants wouldn't be allowed in be culturally.
I totally agree. I don't necessarily agree in your case, but I agree it's a lot of discretion to just say, just because you don't fit into my culture, you can't come to the country. But isn't that exactly the kind of policies you've been pushing for the last decade?
No, I've been pushing against illegal immigration for the most part. I think it's a problem to have mass immigration of people. I think that you can have some people that come in that have different cultures, but you just can't have mass amounts to the point where it changes your own system.
This is before the point. We're deciding what is legal and illegal. And so I don't really want to hear from you again that, like, I'm against illegal immigration. We are deciding in the first instance right now what is and what is not illegal immigration. And my question for you, it seems like there's part of your philosophy that maintains that it's okay. One of the permissible grounds for rejecting and making inadmissible someone into a country or getting a visa or what have you is that they're the wrong culture. Is that correct or is that incorrect?
When have I said that?
Don't you think that cultural competency should be a ground by which to reject someone?
I think language and legal agreements, that the only reason that I have problems with cultural differences is typically because of language and legal disagreements. So like if someone is
legal disagreement by legal disagreements.
So like
if laws?
Yeah, so like if you're partaking in female genital mutilation and you've moved to Europe, then
not partaking.
Probably,
we'll just keep it on. Let's say that you think
even like you support it, and you have a mass amount of people move into an area and start voting for changes.
I'm not talking about that. I mean, we're talking about rules for individuals. Someone says, I think genital mutilation is a good thing. You think that it's okay to restrict their access into the country?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little more.
What, you don't think that the country can say if you support genital mutilation, you're not allowed in?
No, I think there are a lot of beliefs that people have that are a bit bizarre and a bit different. And generally, like I wouldn't invite that person into my house, but I don't know. I'd have to think about like what threshold the government should have on that. But generally, if it's a political opinion that is non-violent, which that one is kind of violent, if it's a non-violent political opinion, I think you're good to go.
So let me play the role of Australia real quick.
Yeah.
Australia says Lauren Southern has had some conduct with a boat. And we think that her beliefs entail violence. And we've made that discretionary part of our
that would be a bit hypocritical of Australia, considering they were a country that are rife with stopping boats coming in with illegal migrants.
That's like correct. But that's correct. But that's why people accuse you of hypocrisy, because when you have policies that are like, you can't advocate for fucked up things, or you have policies that are based on cultural competency and language, it invites this kind of discretion that you don't like it when it's applied to you. And I almost got the sense from that video that, the rest of it, Lauren, to be honest with you, I thought it was very entertaining, but this part, it seemed like you felt you had an entitlement to be in the country of Australia. In Australia...
I think when your opinions particularly are very in line with most of the country, which there is a solid group in the country that absolutely align with my views, I think that discretion or that character assessment is happening purely because the individuals in that office are bigoted against right-wingers, against people that politically disagree with them. I don't think it's like some massive issue with, this is going to fundamentally, affect our culture as Australia, because no, I agree with most Australians. Most Australians I meet, pretty conservative, pretty anti, big progressive policy. Yeah, maybe there's a decent amount of progressives too, but that's like a natural split in the country already. When we're talking about cultural differences of like Islamic culture versus Western culture, that's an entirely different question than left versus right, in my opinion. Because left versus right is already intrinsic. Right? It's already intrinsic within the Australian culture, is having these two political opinions disagreeing with each other.
And so because your opinions are, within line of some acceptable range of scope in Australia, your political opinions should not be subject to additional scrutiny, but maybe you haven't made your mind up. The political opinions related to genital mutilation, that's outside of some band of normalcy that you've decided.
Yeah, and so, actually that's a good way of putting it. Sure.
Really?
Other than FGM, what would you say, what parts of Islamic culture do you think are incompatible with like Western culture?
I don't think this is something that many Muslims would disagree with either, but I think there's a lot of their policies, certainly within more radical sects. Not we're not talking like Sufi, people who believe a lot of the battle is a spiritual battle and not a physical one, right? But the sects that believe in, women shouldn't have rights, women shouldn't be able to drive, you should be stoned for being raped, you should. If you're homosexual, you should be hanged. It's funny enough, this should be the stuff progressives are jumping up and down about, but that typically doesn't mix in well with the
So I would say that some of these things, though, are things that I see as a flaw in all religions, really. Certainly we can say that there's certain sects of Islam that are more radical.
I don't think you see any Christian countries really having the same actual execution, for lack of a better word, of this kind of policy.
Yeah, again, there are sects of Islam that are certainly way more extremist, but I would say that there are still Islamic or Muslim countries that have pretty reasonable laws, I think.
Stardust, the question is who defines
I won't disagree with that. But so things that literally, things that don't fit, I think the easiest way is if it doesn't fit in with like our legal criteria. So like if you can't take an ID photo without a hijab, then sure. Right? And if they can't, if their framework for how they live does not fit in with our own laws, like if they're a Christian that's like, nope, for an ID photo, for any of this, I refuse to take off, my mask, whatever it is. Well, you're gonna have a lot of trouble assimilating to the things that make this country run.
Okay, wait, real quick, just as a quick guiding thing, because Pisco mentioned this earlier, and I think it's important. I think if to argue against Pisco's point, I don't think you can ever invoke the word law, because I think what Pisco is getting at is that in your prior stuff, you're never concerned with the law. You might say that you defend legal immigration, but most of the arguments that you make are arguments of cultural homogeneity or cultural assimilation.
And those things should inform law.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying like you can't just say like, well, this is legal, because in that case, like the mass immigration to a lot of countries, in Sweden, that was all done legally, but you're opposed to that, and so there seems to be something extra you're getting at that rather than just legal grounds. It's not just the law that you're concerned with; it's some overriding argument.
My primary criticism of immigration has almost always been I'd say 90% of my immigration focus has been on just the illegality of it. That has been 90% of my focus.
So wait, so then are you okay with everything?
And then problem with Australia. I mean, what's your problem with Australia? They denied you legally. Oh, actually, they didn't deny you, right? They gave you a visa.
I don't think you understood what I was saying. I applied legally.
Yeah. Well, no, I understand that.
My biggest critique is people who come into countries illegally. That's my biggest.
So you applied legally, but you were given a condition of that residency. Is that correct? You were given a condition.
Yes, an arbitrary condition that is not applied.
It's not arbitrary. Australia.
It is. No, because it's based on our character assessment. It's the individual that has decided. If a communist applied and was like hardcore into communist activism, I reckon they wouldn't be given the same scrutiny.
So are you against those laws? I mean, those exist in America. There's laws related to communists and
yeah, I think you can actually get rejected from the U.S. for being a communist. Yeah.
They ask you on your forms whether or not you've ever.
Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of a communist that has been rejected in the last 20 years? Yeah. Throw it out there. Let's hear.
There's a case where a professor was invited by multiple schools. I think the case is called Shaughnessy or something like that. But that case involved a professor who was applying to have speaking tours in the United States, and the attorney general at that time, who was in charge of immigration matters, denied him. Totally arbitrary. Just did not allow him into the country to do his speaking tour.
Okay,
it's happened.
Can you find me? Wait. No. I want to look this up. What's the professor's name?
Okay.
What's the case called? I'm really curious.
Someone
about
can. That. Okay, 1 second. I'll find the case.
Well, and actually, I can even toss you like an article here. As part of the naturalization process, would-be citizens must prove an attachment to the Constitution and of a favorable disposition to the good order of the United States, according to the general naturalization requirements by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services (USCIS). An attachment to the Communist Party, a totalitarian organization or terrorist group, may indicate a lack of attachment to the Constitution. The applicant cannot become a citizen if they are a member of the Communist Party or have been within the past 10 years, have advocated communism's establishment in the U.S., have published or circulated subversive materials advocating communism, or are affiliated with any groups that do so. This restriction stems from the 1952 McCarran-Walter Act. So in the U.S., as part of your assessment for immigration, you could get rejected on the basis of supporting like communist regimes or being part of a communist party or advocating.
There's a bunch of cases. Harris-Sides versus Shaughnessy. This is not the professor case. That's one where people were ordered deported in the United States because of their previous membership in the Communist Party. Some of the most famous immigration cases are about communists. Mazai. This is the case.
Wait, are you talking about this Cold War thing from the 50s?
Yeah.
So does that still exist?
Okay, here's another one. Kleindienst versus Mandel.
No. Wait. Does that still exist?
I believe that the immigration authority used in those cases is discretionary, and the attorney general can decide, like, on any basis, whatever they deem to their discretion to exclude people. You see, the president of the United States was able to use the suspension clause to deny whole classes of people entrance to the United States. And so there are absolutely still discretions that members of the executive department can take to deny people on the basis of their political affiliation. Yes, in the United States, it's not a violation of the First Amendment.
The Immigration and Nationality Act was enacted in 1952. The INA provisions.
Anyway, all I'm suggesting to you is that for a long time, it's a historical grounded principle that countries reject individuals because of their political affiliations. That's in our history. We still do it a lot of time with people, and there's no like very limited First Amendment avenue for you to say that law is unconstitutional.
Wait. No, I'm looking at this section.
Just to be clear, that 1952 thing, that's still U.S. law. That's, yeah.
They said it's been amended, so I want to read the
there's probably been like added things to it, but like the communist thing.
The timeliness is not important to my argument, Mark. Whether or not it's enacted now or whether or not it's enacted in the 20th century, why does that matter to you?
I would disagree. I would disagree with that law.
Okay,
I'm curious if it still exists.
You're not letting me play out my. Okay, it may exist, it may not exist. I'm trying to play out a thought pattern with you. And that you think that rejecting certain candidates because of things that we would consider speech is okay for some people, right? For some people that you would consider radical.
No, generally, I would not support restricting people because
let's do some as applied.
99.9% of my problems with immigration is people just illegally coming in.
Let's do some as applied challenges. So if Nick Fuentes applied for admission into Australia and he was denied because of bad moral character, would you say that was right or wrong?
Wrong.
Okay. If a typical Muslim who, whatever that means to you, Lauren, were to apply for entrance into Australia or into America, and they were denied on the basis of good moral character, would you be against that or in favor of that?
If a typical Muslim was rejected for just being Muslim?
No. They say you fail, your beliefs, Islam, show that you have no good moral character.
I'd be against that. I'd be against that. Because I think that there are people, I was just hanging out with some redneck Muslims the other night. I think there are people that can assimilate perfectly fine if they want to learn the language, if they're not going to live in enclaves, if they're going to
this person says,
become part of the economy. I think there are people that can assimilate just fine. I think in mass amounts, and when you have enclaves forming, that's a problem. But that doesn't mean I think you should start rejecting people's immigration application because of their religion or because of their political beliefs. No. I think 99% of these problems would be solved if we just stopped illegal immigration and had some, some more.
What is legal and illegal? And so you saying that we stop.
I mean, people that aren't even freaking applying in the first place, like they're not even going through the process at all.
But your arguments, I don't think rely on following to some extent the formalisms of the law. But they more have to do with cultural competency and cultural assimilation. Is that not the bedrock of your immigration advocacy?
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. And I think that, if you have every country should not just allow open borders. So you should have kind of a limit to the amount of migration you let in for the sake of your
don't you
economy,
think that
for the
it's...
sake of... Wait. Can you let me finish? For the sake of, your country, you do have to have some sort of limitations on the amount of people that come in. And when picking those people, they should be people that are probably going to be the most culturally similar. So if you have two people and they've got all the same, wealth background, all the same skills, and one of them is going to be more culturally similar to your country, that's probably the person that should be prioritized. But that doesn't mean have a all across the board law that's like we're rejecting people because of their politics or religion. No, I don't support that.
Or because of their culture, right? Or because of their culture.
No, I don't support that.
So you don't support immigration policies based on an individual's culture?
It depends if the culture also means that they're incapable of assimilating.
Which cultures would you cite as examples?
We've gone through this. Like, I feel like we're dancing in loops. If you're part of a culture and it's like your core belief that, women shouldn't have rights, we should execute gays. Have you ever, I'll buy you a one-way ticket to the Middle East. You can spend some time there and let me know.
Well, I'm asking you, so Middle Eastern culture, that'd be an example of a culture that you think is...
There's many, obviously, countries within the Middle East that have varying different cultures. Like Lebanon has 1,000 just in itself, but there are cultures, enclaves within there that do have that.
So make your rule statement. What's your rule statement then? What's
also, Actual Justice Warrior just made a really good point. He's in my chat. He said, member of the Communist Party during the Cold War is an espionage issue. Member of a terrorist organization or advocating for overthrowing the U.S. government or whatever government is also different from just opinions.
Being members of a communist party is... Do you think that should
when
be
you're in
the law?
Do I think it should be against the law?
Should it be against the law to be a member of the Communist Party?
In the United States, it depends which party and what's going on in the world. Like, do you think that they should be allowing Russian political officials into Ukraine right now, uncritically?
Well, I asked you a question as applied to America. In America...
Well, it depends on the context. If the U.S. is in a war actively with a country and they've got a communist party that's running the country, then you're probably going to have some issues.
So if a country had,
reasonably
let's say, if a country said to itself that we have a problem with alt-right propaganda in this country. I'm not saying that you are alt-right, but that although Destiny did, and they determined that that you are going to make that problem worse. Why could you take issue with Australia?
We're not at war with individuals with opinions. That's like way overstepping the government. If you're in an active like government versus government, country versus country war, you can probably consider having a little more criticism, be a little more critical about who's coming in and out of your country from this other place. But you're talking about the government going to war with its own citizens and their opinions. That's very different. Damn it, Actual Justice Warrior said, nope, not joining, stop asking. I was about to invite you too.
Testing.
Hi, you got cut off, or you got dropped for a sec.
It seems like that's a standard, when circumstances call for it and when it's in the national interest, countries should be able to...
Yeah, but clearly circumstances didn't call for it because they would have had just an outright ban.
The problem wasn't...
Listen, the problem wasn't that I had the opinions that I have. They're fine with that. They just don't want me sharing them. So I'm allowed to be in the country, running around, talking to people on a private level about my opinions. They're perfectly fine with my opinions being in the country. They're not that dangerous. They just want to stifle my ability to communicate them with other people. That's pretty fucked, man.
Okay. So it's the manner in which you manifest your opinions that you take issue with, not the opinions
they're trying to stifle the sharing of certain political opinions, even if they don't think having those political opinions in the first place is enough of a threat or actual issue with your immigration, which it's not. There are tons of people that immigrate every freaking day that have the same opinions as me. The problem was they just figured they could use this as a way to prevent the sharing of political opinions that they dislike.
You agree that there should be restrictions based on good moral character, correct? You're okay with those?
I don't think the government can define that. I don't think the government should be allowed to define what good moral character is. No, I think the government can't define that.
Okay, but they can define which cultures are problematic and incompatible.
No, this is why you need to look at like things like you have to have actual objective.
Can you answer that question?
Lists to look at.
You trust?
No, I don't trust the government. No, I don't trust the government. No, I don't trust the government.
Wait, can you answer my question? My question.
I'm so sorry to cut in. I know that Lauren is running short on time, but I wanted to ask if we could maybe set up like a separate time. I'd love to have more of a discussion with you on the whole compatibility with Western culture discussion.
Yeah, I'd be happy to have that. I love someone in my chat was just like, imagine letting in someone you think is a terrorist as long as they don't write books or share their opinions publicly. Yeah, they don't think I'm a terrorist. That's why.
Hold on, wait, just real quick on that comment. To be fair, that is essentially what you're saying, though, right? Like, you're saying that, like, if somebody wants to come in... Well, hold on, wait. Just by what
I'm saying at all.
Wait, by what you said, that's almost exactly what you said, right? If I take two radical Muslims, but one of them, like, isn't trying to radicalize people, he just wants to, like, set up shop, like, make a fucking, you know, bodega and sell shit to people, you're like, oh, this guy can come in the country. But if there's another guy that's running around, like, trying to radicalize people, preaching their political opinion, you say, I don't really know about this guy. Like, I think maybe this guy is a little bit more incompatible in the country. That is kind of what you're saying. And by kind of, I mean almost exactly, no? I think you'd be okay with the former and against the latter in that case.
No, but there's a huge contradiction here. The contradiction is that Lauren Southern trusts the government to doesn't trust the government to define what good moral character is, but does trust the government to say what cultures are we compatible with. How do you square that circle? You don't trust them to define
Actual Justice Warrior, who I wish would join this call, just made a great point. He said, letting her in after she quit publicly sharing her opinions proves they didn't think she was a threat. It quite literally means she must just not talk about them.
Wait, just to be clear, that's not what that proves. What it proves is that they think that sharing of those opinions massively was the threat.
I'm going to ask the question once more. You don't trust the government to define an individual's good moral character, but you do trust the government to define on a societal level what cultures are compatible or not, and then apply that to individuals.
You can look at some cultural things and point to language. You can point to laws. You can point to some objective standards there. I don't think the government should have any policies that are just sweeping without any sort of objective pinpoints we're looking at. Sweeping, like, we just get to make this decision.
Let's make it objective. Let's make it totally objective. You tell me you agree with objective. If you say that your culture, or that you're part of a culture that doesn't respect democracy, should they let you in?
How do you define a culture that doesn't respect democracy?
You tell me. That's on you. You're okay.
No, I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. This whole conversation, I've been telling you, I don't think people should just be restricted from countries just because of their culture. I think that having something like VACU and having the character assessment allows for far too much discretion. Should there be some? Yes, but I think it should be based on some pinpoints that are objective that you can look at. So it's just not one person saying, don't like that person's political opinions. That person rubs me the wrong way because of, random reason that isn't something that can be objectively codified.
Okay, so is it all going to ground down to the language requirement as the only thing that is objective enough for you?
That's a massive one, and that would actually reduce a lot of our problems, but...
Okay. Listen, I know that you have to leave, and so I'm not going to belabor it. I think there's a huge contradiction here. I think that culture is at sort of the intersection of speech and ideas, and the fact that you're, willing to grant the government, I guess, some authority to define, even on an objective level, before it's actually being applied to individuals. But in the decision, the discretionary decision of what legislation to take up and what restrictions to even put in place before you get to applying them. Maybe you apply them totally consistent, but the selection of a standard, that itself is a
Dude, I'll tell you right now, if anyone were treated the same way as me, if there were a Muslim speaker that they decided to allow in the country, as long as he quit politics and quit speaking about his opinions, I'd have just as much problem with that as I have with mine, because it shows that, no, it actually isn't about the culture. It actually isn't about having this person in your... Because the reality is I can share my views with Australians outside of Australia. I don't have to be in Australia. My stuff is YouTube, right? So I think it were pretty bullshit if there were a Muslim guy that were sharing his views on YouTube anyway, that were told you have to quit that in order to enter our country. They don't see him as a risk. They're looking to stifle someone's speech using their own government policies.
And speech is really important. It's not about speech is your life. Yeah, speech is one of the most important things in your entire life, correct? And you sacrifice that to be with your family. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where is the sympathy in your heart? Where is the... how can you say that it's unjust for this government to put a restriction on you to see your family? And really, they just gave you a visa. And then not see the droves of people who want to be reunited with their families in the United States. And with total apathy, advocate for policies that severely restrict their reunification.
I have sympathy for them, but you have to go through the legal route. I had to wait months. I have not seen my family for a long, long time going through the proper legal routes. And you bet your ass if I weren't trying to do that properly, I'd be tempted to go and do it illegally. But I know there are processes that I have to freaking follow, right? And it pisses me off just as much having to deal with these policies as it would anyone else. And I have a lot of freaking for these people, but that doesn't mean you throw your laws out the window just because we feel sad about it.
We're defining what the laws are, and you're in favor of laws that would make it much harder for individuals to reunify in the United States and in the West. Is that right?
Fulfill the requirements necessary, like you're going to have to go in and be on government assistance, if you're going to go in and not be able to communicate with the people around you. Yes, I can feel really, really bad for you and still say this is not going to be a functioning system if our immigration laws do not have some sort of standards. There are some things we have to do. There are some things we have to do in life that kind of suck, that aren't that great. They don't make you feel too good, but they have to be done or things are going to get a lot worse.
Isn't that what Australia did to you? Isn't that what Australia did to you?
No, their reason was absolute bullshit. It had nothing to do with me not being able to afford. It had nothing to do with me not being able to speak the language. It had nothing to do with me not being able to assimilate with the culture because I have the opinion of 50% of the fucking country. It has to do with the fact that they wanted to stifle my free speech. They let me in the country anyways. It's absolute bullshit that you're trying to compare these things, Pisco.
No. Just bear with me for a second. Whether or not you think that your particular ground and the restriction that you had, remember, you were let into the country, is you think this is totally unjustifiable. And you think that this is a total miscarriage and that countries, okay, they can have good moral character standards, but
you know what?
Can I finish my comment?
I wish AJ, no, you can't. You're just spewing bullshit. I wish AJW were in here. He's like, reuniting with your third cousin twice removed is not the same thing as separating a married couple. America pretty much is pretty damn cool with reuniting married couples. When you're talking about people coming from Mexico, it's typically the situation AJW is referring to here. Not that I don't have sympathy with them. I just covered this topic, but a lot of it is just because they want to get the illegal way to immigrate into the country.
So then great. I'll ask you the question. So any kind of cultural competency requirements, you would be in favor of those being waived for close familial relationships? Any language requirement?
I don't know. That's not the question. That I have to think about that one a little more.
You wouldn't be in favor of you want to get families together. Don't you think America, if it's going to impose an English requirement, shouldn't they waive that for reuniting families?
If you can't fulfill the English requirement, they have processes you can go through, taking your courses. Before you go there, you can even pay for while you're waiting for your visa to be substantiated.
I'll ask
you have to take language courses. I think that's perfectly reasonable. If you go to, I have friends. I had a friend who moved to Vienna to be with her husband, and she had to do language courses for the whole year before her full visa could be substantiated.
So it's reasonable for the government to say to someone who's never been in the country, but who has a close familial relationship in the country, that means husband, wife, maybe child over 21, whatever you want to say. It's reasonable for the government to say learn a whole language, but it's not reasonable for Australia to say learn Southern while you're here. You shall not engage in public life. One is reasonable.
Absolutely,
and the other is
absolutely.
And the answer is because
and the fact that you're even comparing those two is insane.
The reason is because the things related to your conduct or misconduct as the Australian government.
Me speaking publicly and having opinions that half the fucking nation have is not going to impede my ability to speak to other people, to participate in the economy, to do all these things that are necessary that isn't a drain on the country.
Have you considered the possibility the reason that you are restricted to coming to the country isn't because of your what you said, but what you did previously?
If that were the case, then they would have barred me regardless of me stepping out of public life.
Why does that follow? That logically follows? That logically follows that the restriction they put in must be related to...
Because if it were about some sort of action that they were afraid that I was going to repeat some sort of like... I could do that anyways without having a public profile.
Didn't the words they say because of your engagement in public life?
Yeah.
Okay, so wouldn't that include, is public life only public speech? Isn't it activism? Isn't it things you do as well as things you say?
I could still do activism while not being a public personality, right?
Perhaps, but you don't know that their decision to restrict your access was because of things you said or things you did.
Yeah, well, either way, they let me in after I quit public life, so I think that's pretty damning.
And they let you in.
I do have to. I'm getting late for
okay
barbecue that I need to go to. So always love yelling at you though, Pisco. I'll have you on again.
Yeah. Happy to chat again.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Have fun. Be careful.
Great. See ya. Thanks.
Bye. Leave.
Jesus Christ, Pisco. Wait, how do you think that conversation went?
I think it's really telling that it's so hard to extract an answer from Lauren with respect to what kind of speech-related activities she thinks it's okay to restrict access for incoming people.
Mm-hmm.
And, she answers right away with respect to Nick Fuentes and herself. Right away, she knows that it's wrong. But she's not so sure that a belief in female genital mutilation, that should be a belief which does or does not cause you to be inadmissible to a country.
I think to ease out of the wiggling around so much is what was happening. I think it probably would have been good at the beginning of the convo to hammer because this is a question that never really got answered, and I think because it didn't get answered, it let the conversation slide around so much, is what are reasonable standards by which a country should be able to evaluate the worthiness of an immigrant? I think that would have been a good question, because chances are she can't give a good answer to that, because I think either one, she can list an answer that is loose enough that lets her come through, which if that's the case, it's probably going to let a whole bunch of people through that she would have literally had videos on her channel advocating against. Or two, it's going to be so stringent so as to keep out all those people that it probably would restrict her as well, Because I think towards the end of the convo, I think there were some things that she was saying about, I think anybody should be allowed through as long as they can speak the language and contribute financially. And it's okay, well, what about when you made that video walk around Paris looking at all those Muslims?
Yeah.
Do you know if those guys could speak French? Maybe they all spoke the language, but it seems like you have another problem there related to culture, not just a language and financial means, I think that hammering out that would have let you move the conversation further, because it seems like it kept going back to that, well, what are the laws or whatever, when obviously you're having a discussion about the law, not, I think that probably would have helped.
We were having a conversation about what we want the law to be.
Yeah.
And it is really frustrating every time to say, well, I just want people to do it legally. Mm-hmm. We're defining what it is that we want to be legal.
That's like saying, should I be able to steal or not? And it's well, I just want people to act moral. Well, hold on. Well, we're trying to figure out what those actions even are. That's the subject of the conversation, right?
And it's so, to me, she's defining what is permissible and what's impermissible for the government to restrict access to immigration on. And it's totally permissible for the government to say, well, because you maybe aren't in this particular visa category, or you're not a skilled laborer, mm-hmm. that's a justified reason by which to stop someone from let's say reuniting with their grandparents.
Sure.
But saying something radical about I don't know, maybe if you're a right-wing radical, mm-hmm. that would not be a sufficient ground for a country in their own decision in terms of sovereignty to let you into their country.
Sure. Which I think is a position you could have, but I don't think she would ever hold that for like Islamic immigrants, right?
Yeah.
Like on that, she would want like hardcore cultural, like like the idea that as long as you speak the language, you can earn money, you're fine. That's actually the libertarian position. That's more further left than like most progressives. Like to just say that you can just economically sort yourself out is like the hardcore libertarian stance. But obviously, I think due to her past videos and probably what she even currently believes, I would imagine, she wants more qualifications than just that. Also, this would have just derailed it harder, but she kept saying like I align with 50% of people's beliefs. That's probably not true as well. Like if there's any way to quantify it, like in Canada, she voted for the PPC, which I'm pretty sure got like 1% of the votes. So that's like farther right than where the average sits. I don't think the average Australian, even conservative, is where her positions are. But that would be like a totally different fight to have, probably, right?
And I think that if you gave, I don't know how she would answer this question. If a country said, you know, a famous Islamic preacher were to come into the country and try to get access to the country and to preach Wahhabist Islam, would she be okay with a country denying access to that prominent Islamist preacher?
Yeah, that was the example that I gave, I think. I was like, if somebody wants to come in and they believe in fundamentalist Islam, but they don't say much about it, or they just like, they work a bodega and everybody's chill, you'd probably be okay with that. But if they wanted to come in and start preaching radical Islam, you'd probably not be okay with that. So that's literally, the subject there is not their beliefs, it's actually their ability to like propagate them.
Which is what essentially what happened with her.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, yeah.
From the estimate of the Australian government. And I really want her to answer that question. Is she okay with the government saying no to this radical preacher? Let's say that he's white. Let's say that he's speaking in English. And I have to believe that someone that she perceives to be possible in terms of like radicalizing large groups of people to Islamism, that she would think it's totally fine for a country to deny.
For absolutely, of course, right? Yeah. Or at least I would imagine. I can't imagine escaping that conclusion, right? Otherwise, like, what is like all of the, because everything that we're talking about in the past, she also said this a few times, which is totally not true, but it would be a different conversation. She kept saying her only problem was with illegal immigration. That's not true. When we talk about Sweden, our issue there isn't illegal immigration. When we talk about most of Europe, the issue there isn't illegal immigration. When we talk about the United States, even, most of the conversation doesn't even revolve around illegal immigration. And she hasn't said that in the past. Her term has very specifically been mass migration, not mass illegal immigration, right?
She kept mentioning enclaves.
But that doesn't help her, right? That doesn't help her, because if the government could say something like, we're worried Lauren is going to make splinter cells or enclaves of right-wing thoughts or insular communities, or someone could, I don't know, the same thing with the hypothetical preacher. And that wouldn't really help her. The thing that's driving the distinction, I feel, and I think it's obvious, is a normative one. She thinks her beliefs are less corrosive to society than Islamism. That's her belief. Well, and so all this thing about it shouldn't be based on your free speech, that's all bullshit. The real rationale, I think, and everyone knows it, is she doesn't think her views are damaging. She thinks those other people's views are damaging. And I think that the use of free speech as a shield in this case, in an area of discretion where historically countries have used it to for good moral character, what have you, that's just a shield. That's just a facade. What's really driving her argument, and the reason why she was having difficulty with the hypos about female genital mutilation, is because she just thinks her views are better and less corrosive than the Islamism views.
Sure, probably. This is kind of like when I say like people are pro-democracy or pro-whatever. I don't think they're actually pro the thing. They're just pro whatever they like perceive at the time as like supporting the thing that they believe in, right? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the question that you're hitting at is like, I imagine that in another conversation, like if it was two conservatives talking and then Lauren talking, and somebody would say like, don't you think a country has a right to decide who comes into their country? Don't you think a country has a right to determine who gets in? Everybody would be like, yeah, of course. Oh yeah, soy, of course. Yeah. But it's like, oh, okay, well, here a country's done just that. And it's like, okay, whoa, hold on. Like, I disagree with how they make that decision. I was like, well, okay, but like there's a lot of Muslims that would disagree with how certain countries make the decisions about who they let in, right? So who's to say who's right or wrong on that, unless you're appealing to either one, some supranational organization, which conservatives say, or two, you're just basically saying like, well, I morally agree with this position, so I should be allowed in, and everyone else can fuck off because they don't agree with me, basically, right?
Yeah. The next time we talk, I'm gonna let her know. I'm gonna want her to like tell me what policies she wants to be implemented in the United States. I think that that's not unreasonable for me to ask. She's an immigration advocate.
That's what I was going to say. What you should have started with, I think, was like getting an ironed out answer of like, what should a government be allowed to determine for like an immigrant coming to the country? What should be allowed? Because that's why I said, like, I think that she's going to set a like there is a bar that she can set, but it's either going to be so high that she can't pass, or low enough for her to pass that would let in a whole bunch of people that historically she's probably been against. Yeah, there's no way around that. And I think if you would have started there, then the conversation probably would have gotten a little bit more.
You know, I had an idea of where I was going to go, but I was trying to be respectful and let her, and not just lead her the whole time.
Sure. Yeah.
But she would just go on. And so I think that she realizes that there's some contradiction.
Probably,
that
yeah.
needs to be ironed out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's not unreasonable for me to ask, give me the policy that you want President DeSantis in 2024 to sign.
Mm-hmm.
What is it what kind of restriction do you want? Like, give us a law that would not be apt for rampant abuse of discretion,
mm-hmm.
the likes of which you claim has been done unto you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to say something like the attorney general gets to determine which cultures are harmful, and anyone who's part of that culture gets extra screening, like, what does that look like? What are you asking for?
Mm-hmm. Because the idea that character, again, is just language and economic ability, that's the libertarian position. And far-right people don't agree with the libertarian position. They want a culture test. Yeah.
They want a culture test, and to pretend they don't, and they just want some limits on immigration, like numbers limits. We already have numbers limits on immigrations, but you'll notice the end there, she cites actual justice warrior, whoever's in her chat. Mm-hmm. Is that the person?
Yeah.
Who's like, but in America, we have unlimited visas for people who are close familial relationships. That's actually true.
But she'd probably be opposed to that.
Why would you be in favor of that?
Yeah.
Unlimited green card visa, like for people who get married to someone?
Mm-hmm.
Why on earth would you? It's a way to have your cake and eat it too. It's a way for you to be like, well, I'm okay with that because, I think it's wrong that Australia would deny me from seeing my family,
mm-hmm.
and so I'm okay with that in America. But unless you don't speak the language, then family reunification is not a big enough deal. Mm-hmm. There's always a caveat. There's always an exception that's going to keep her in and keep out people she doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you pull on those exceptions, they start to unravel.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, that's it for me, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Well, I don't think anything. Stardust. She's one that.
Oh, Stardust. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Stardust. Thank you so much. Sorry, I got mad at you.
No problem. Thanks for joining. It was very interesting. So, yeah, and hopefully I'll just bug her for another conversation. So.
I'm down for it any day. Thank you, Lycan, too.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Love you.
Cool. See you guys.
I love you. Be careful, babes.
Steven.
Hi, what's up?
I don't know if I'm fighting with my ego or just chat. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell if because like my overall feeling about the debate is that I made basically a lot of points that almost all the points that you would agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that stands out that you heard me say that you're like,
so there's another level of like debate that you have to move through these like levels as you graduate from like debate apprentice to debate student to like debate scholar to debate master, right? So one of the things moving forward is like I don't think you stated anything that was incorrect. The facts that you were stating were right, but I think that you were hitting it from a different side than what she was. And I think hitting it from that different side meant that you guys were finding disagreements in places where you weren't actually disagreeing. So like I think when you would say something like sometimes over policing means that people that smoke weed are more likely to get caught for crimes. Like I don't think she was disagreeing with that, but you wanted to emphasize that point a lot, even though you guys had no disagreement there. And I think that was an issue that you were running into over and over again, where you were talking about things that were true and factual, but you didn't have disagreement there, but you had disagreement elsewhere, so you kept hammering those points you both agreed with, I think.
Yeah, and I think I got to it later, but I don't think I got to it soon enough, and I didn't articulate it well enough, which is the idea that a lot of the issues when it comes to over-policing now is not because just crime is happening now. It's why does crime happen now? And what, over the last 100+ years have led to more crime in these spaces. And it's just been a cyclical kind of event, an interaction between negative repercussions in the Black community or pressure against the Black community.
Which I don't think either of you technically disagree with. So that was the issue, is that it felt like you were taking a long time to lead up to that point, but there wasn't any actual factual disagreement there.
Right. And I think a problem on my end is I've been fighting with Chad about this for the last hour, is that I'm not as concise as you, and I'm not as quick to the point as you are. And so because of that, I think it takes a lot of time to get to any kind of effective level of debate.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. It's frustrating because like I don't come here to like a couple of people said I was coming here to get dunks, and I don't do that. Like I have nothing to gain. Like, do I like getting Twitter followers? Yeah, but like I'm not making content, right? So I'm not here to just fuck around. Like as you say, I engage because I care about whatever we're talking about. And so when I do that and we're talking about this, like I'm not worried about how good I sound to the thousands of people watching. I worry about whether or not I'm saying the factually accurate thing. And it's frustrating, you know, if I'm going to expose a little insecurity publicly, it's frustrating to hear people harp on the effectiveness as far as like being concise and communicating and convincing, when it's like at the end of the day, like, yeah, I might be poor at framing the argument in a way that's going to convert the most people into agreeing with it, but if I'm still giving the appropriate pushback to the comments being made, it feels a little frustrating to get that such intense pushback to it.
Yeah, I mean that's just the nature of online conversations, right?
Yeah, I know. How'd you feel about Pisco's combo?
I think it was a little chaotic. I think I mean I already get my criticism. I think he should have been more focused in the end and like ironing out like what were the exact conditions by which he thinks a government should be allowed to restrict immigration, and that the combo would have went better if that was figured out initially, and then the argument could have moved better from there.
I agree with that. How do you feel about when people celebrate their enemy's death in this space? Like Rush Limbaugh, as an example.
I have really mixed feelings on it. This is like a 51-49 position for me that I could go like back and forth on. Like on one end, I think it's always shitty when you're like celebrating people's deaths. Like we probably shouldn't do it. But like on another end, like the irony for somebody like Rush Limbaugh, who talks about no government restrictions and freedom for everybody and smokes all the time and brags about smoking all the time and then dies of lung cancer. Like that's a dramatic irony that's almost impossible not to touch on, right? Like, so yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, like we shouldn't wish for people to die, but I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing to have a laugh at it sometimes, depending on the circumstances. But like that starts to get so conditional that it's going to be pretty easy to etch out like politically favorable positions for you that just come off as like inconsistent or like partisan. So yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that more. I'm not sure. I don't know if I have like a huge principle there. I can be persuaded one way or the other.
I think what you just touched on, like David Pacman once said something to the degree of like, it's not good to celebrate the death of someone, but it is okay to accept that they are no longer having a negative impact on society because they're gone. And I think that's reasonable. But like when I think of people going off and celebrating, like when Colin Powell died, or you know, any of these other things, like there's almost a part of me that wishes that for a split second it could be imbued upon them whatever that person was suffering and the emotions of their family. Like they would actually be forced to empathize in the way they pretend they can, to a degree. And I feel like if they could get to that point, they wouldn't shit on the guy that just had bowel cancer or whatever. You know what I mean? Who suffered through it for years, whose family that loves him.
Yeah, that's probably the case. Family. But like, if there's anything that I've learned in all my years of politicking, it seems to be the case that people seem to learn best, or maybe only learn through experience.
Yes.
And that just seems to be the case, that like, I'm willing to bet that if you've lost a loved one to like dementia or something, and you're the biggest progressive in the world, even Donald Trump getting dementia might be like a soft spot for you, you know? Or if you look at like Lauren's life, like she probably has a bigger soft spot now for feminism after everything that's happened to her. And maybe a year from now, she'll have more of a soft spot for immigration, considering what happened for her in Australia. But like, it seems like, I know for me, it's been like, there have been things that I don't care about. And then once I have some experience, I'm like, oh, you know what? I kind of understand this more. It's just over time, like we have to collect experiences and then hopefully find a way to impart those on other people so they don't have to have them to like generate that type of sympathy, if not empathy.
And it's frustrating because you'll see like a lot of people on the left, you know, the cancel culture, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and it's until they get caught up in it, they don't care.
Yeah.
A good example of this, and I was talking to Chad about it the other day, is Jamie Kilstein. Do you know who that is?
Nope.
He's a comedian, and he used to be like your just quintessential SJW. Before we even got to the levels we're at now, or have been for the last few years, he was there debating Joe Rogan in the early days, like 2011, 2012, about rape culture and things like that. And then someone tried to fuck him.
Wait, I talked to this guy? Who is this guy?
No, I don't think you've talked to this guy. He's
what was his name again?
Comedian.
Say it again.
Jamie Kilstein.
Oh, okay. I don't know why Hortler said it. Half of the shit Hortler says is a meme, half is true. So, wait, hold on. You interviewed Jamie Kilstein with Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, he was that.
Did you really?
He was the guy sitting next to her. Okay.
No shit.
I talked to him then. Okay, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so cool. So there's a great episode of him from, like, I want to say, because it was around the time I just discovered Joe Rogan. So like 2018, he does an episode and he goes into like everything that happened to him and just how it's kind of like it took that to wake him up to like how he was making his life feel better and his purpose in life ruining people's lives. Just like the slightest infraction, fuck you, you're done, it's over. But you're watching him now go. He's done it very slowly, so it's not like Rittenhouse, who was just like already kind of right and then went super right. He's been very slow, but now I think he just was on Tim Pool's podcast. So it's that very slow thing. But either way, the point is that like, yeah, it's not until you have that experience that you turn away from those things. It seems in this space anyway. But like, how do we communicate that before it has to get to that point? How do we?
Yeah, I don't know. That's like the $20 trillion question, and I don't know what the answer to that is. Like, how do you get somebody to develop this type of empathy without having to have the experiences themselves? I don't know what the answer to that is. I wish I had a good thing, because I feel like I'm disappointed in myself that I seem to learn so much through experience, and it's taken me experience to learn things. So
yeah, no, even I, like, even without experience, and I don't know if this is like, I don't know what exactly this is. Maybe it's just a certain number of bad experiences that like I'm able to now apply to other situations. But I think there are a lot of views that I hold that it's like, what if I was in that position? Like the death penalty. Like, I don't think I'm about to murder anyone, but like, I have a pretty strong opinion about abolishing the death penalty. But where does that come from? Does it come from a genuine capability to empathize with humanity and the significance of the fact that anyone exists and no one should be able to squelch that? Or is it because, you know, if I might end up on the fucking, you know, on death row one day, I don't want that to be the case. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating, especially if you watch the people in this space. Everyone's out for blood. Everyone wants the ultimate punishment for everyone who does anything. Everything is the worst fucking shit in the world. Everyone takes their interactions with this space to the ultimate level of seriousness, where Josie is on the fucking stream saying that you are putting people on a list and you will, Stephen Destiny Bonnell II, contribute to the fucking deaths of trans people. Like, goddamn, dude, chill the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if I knew how to teach people things without them having to experience it, I'd be a multi-trillion-dollar author, because I'm pretty sure everybody wants to be able to do that. That's like the goal for everybody.
Right.
The biggest shortcut that I found is soliciting advice from people. So like the thing that I started doing, I think during the trans arc, that I'm continuing to do, is just like asking people to like give me their experiences. And then once I read enough of them, hopefully I can get an idea without having to like live that experience myself, or at least start to get an inkling of an idea about it. But
do you find yourself, do you go out of your way to question things as you read them, even if they have, like, especially if they affirm what you
I try to be
believe?
Careful of that, because it's easy to get lost of like, I'm reading a thing that affirms what I'm saying. Like there was that, some guy, President Sunday, was it President Sunday or was it somebody? No, the Pearl Brain guy on Twitter links me a study of the Fafalefi or whatever the fuck. It's like trans people from a Samoan culture. And he's trying to say that like, well, look, this is proof that there are going to be a lot of trans people with no dysphoria. And there are a few reasons why I think this is bullshit, the way that it's presented. I don't know if these people, blah, blah, blah. But somebody in chat immediately links a Jesse Single, I think his name is Single. Yeah, Jesse Single article that kind of like rebukes that. And I clicked that tweet immediately. But then I think to myself, like, I really want him to be right. I really want to click this. And it seems like he clicks it and he does debunk it. But like, that's not a good thing. Like, I have to go back and I need to read that study so that I can fully engage with it. It's not enough to find something and then immediately search for somebody that like rebuts it and then go, oh, go, whew, okay, look, this is good. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about it. Somebody linked to Jesse thing. Whew, done, took care of that. Like, that's not, I don't think that's honest engagement with criticism. That's just like, it's like if somebody gives you a study that you don't like and you immediately go Google like XYZ study debunked. Oh, thank God I found it. Like, you're never going to have your mind changed on anything. You might always be wrong about a thing because there might always be one debunking. It might be that Jesse's wrong there. So like, I need to read that study and then Google around to find more information about it before I just find the first debunk of it and take that at face value.
Would we, when we go into a situation and where we want it to be, like, I never want to hear a story about police being racist, and I never want it to be true. I have that bias. I do not want it to be true. What kind of bias do we call that?
You don't want it to be just a bias, I guess.
Just a bias? Because, like, I think we all have that kind of bias. And, like, where you have people on the, like, the leftist side of the left, they want, I feel like they want that to be true.
Yeah,
Any
of course.
bad story
We're starting to see that like more and more kind of with like the Uvalde story. We've had a couple of pretty sad things come out. Have you been following any of this?
Yeah.
So
I can't watch the video, but I've seen a lot of screenshots.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. So like there was a cop in a hallway who took out his phone and it had like a Punisher background. And did you see anybody making fun of this guy?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, so people were making fun of this guy because he's got, wow, big badass with this one, blah, blah. Well, it turns out that the reason why he had his phone out was because his like wife, who was getting murdered in one of the classrooms, was trying to call him, and he tried to like go in and stop him, but like the other cops wouldn't let him go in. So people are like making fun of this guy for a quick perception that they want, because that's a story we want. We want that to be the case. That like, yeah, he's a fucking piece of shit cop, blah 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 blah. But that wasn't the case, right? And then there was also the part where there was a police officer walked up, and even in my chat I saw people do it, and even I made fun of this because it's kind of funny. A cop walks up and gets like hand sanitizer, and people make
okay, yeah, cool. Tell me about that, because I saw that and I was like, what the fuck?
Supposedly somebody said that this guy was a medic and he was going to be interacting with people soon, so he was just trying to like keep his hands clean in case he needed to bandage anybody or whatever. So like, yeah, so it seems like so you have to be really careful that there are things that we want to be true, hardcore, but like. I said that. I think I gave that when that guy invited me to talk to those 2 college classes. That was a point that I'd made both times. When I go into a story, I need to know what I want. That's really important. Like when I'm watching a Jordan Peterson video or Joe Rogan video, I want them to be wrong because I hate these. I don't hate them, but I really dislike these people. I really want them to be wrong. But I have to be aware of that because that means that I'm predisposed to saying they're saying things that are wrong that might actually be correct. They might even be right about things that I care about that I don't know enough about. That could be the case. But being aware of those biases going in is really important. Otherwise, you get stuck in this world to where you can kind of convince yourself of anything as long as you go in with the correct biases. Because I can Google, if I'm Googling incorrectly, if I'm Googling from a poor epistemic foundation, I can find really whatever I want. I can look at XYZ debunk and probably find a source to reaffirm whatever bias I have if I'm not aware that I have that bias, you know?
Exactly. And that's we call that just an implicit bias, like what you want it to be. Because I think that's exactly, like, we ought to be able to be aware of those and engage with whatever information we're talking about, debate, topic, article, whatever. We should be aware of those as we're reading things so that we're not, you know, it's like, yeah, I don't want the cop to be bad, but when I come across information that says the cop might have been bad, I need to be able to honestly engage with that. And I think that that's the core problem with so much of this information that drives our discourse in this space in particular, like the online politics. And
the problem is also we don't talk about it well, because like the level 1 engagement is, yeah, I'm biased, okay? The level 2 engagement is we need to get rid of our biases. That's never gonna happen. As long as you have any amount of normativity, meaning any opinion morally on anything at all, you're always going to have some bias. The next level, level 3 engagement is, I have biases. I need to be aware of those so that I can counteract them when I'm doing research. That's like the mature person, the mature researcher step, is to go, okay, I've been tasked with fact checking. I did this on stream, a Joe Rogan video. I don't like Joe Rogan. Basically anything he says about vaccines, I'm going to instantaneously assume it's wrong. But I need to be aware of that because it means I need to fact check those claims all the more harder, because he might say something that to me sounds, I just want to be wrong about it, but he's actually correct on it. I need to be super aware of those things rather than like bullshitting myself into believing like, oh, I'm not biased at all. I'm just like with the science. So I know Joe Rogan's wrong on everything, right? Rather than like getting into a trap where you think you're more objective than you actually are. Because it's not the, there's a really good quote and it's very concise, but I don't remember it. But it's something like, ignorance is so much less dangerous than like false knowledge or something. Like it's the person that doesn't know is far less dangerous than the person that thinks they know, if that person is wrong.
Yes.
And that's something that I think everybody should take to heart. Yeah.
Well, and that's the frustrating thing about watching people in this space, is how seriously they take themselves. And like, I think that it is meaningful. Like you know yourself, you've had a huge impact on a lot of people in this area. But I think you also know the limits of your, I don't know what you want to say, intellect, capabilities, reach, whatever. Like that you don't treat this as if like it's the end all be all, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people in this space, though, they do. They treat everything like their side is the ultimate right. There's no reason to ever consider anything a conservative has ever said. Mm-hmm. But like that's the, you know, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote about like, you know, fight for what you believe in.
Sure.
The follow on to that part that no one ever fucking includes is the part where it says, but do it in a way that makes people want to come to your side or something like that.
Okay.
Or like no one engages with stuff in that way. It's just, we are right, you are wrong, period, end of story. Mm-hmm. There's no consideration for why a conservative might feel the way they do, why they might hold the positions they hold.
Oh yeah.
But because of that,
this line I repeat a lot, and I think it's important. It comes from like therapy, but like the idea that like no feelings are random. People don't have random feelings.
Yes, agreed.
Every time they have a feeling about something, there's a good reason why they have that feeling. It might not be rational or logical, but there's going to be a reason, and you have to contend with that reason instead of pretending that there can never be a reason why somebody is racist, or there can never be a reason why somebody hates it. There's plenty of reasons why people, probably some good reasons why people can have these feelings sometimes. And we know this too, because we'll make excuses for it if it's something we politically agree with, but we won't make excuses for it if it's something we don't politically agree with, right? Like we might say that like there is no good reason to harbor, to be bigoted ever. You should never be bigoted against somebody just because of their sex or race. But if a woman who was raped 2 times is like, I feel really uncomfortable around men, well, now all of a sudden, like, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Like, you have every right to be uncomfortable around men and want to avoid them and everything. That's fine. But if you talk about like a conservative walking to the other side of the street when they see a black person, like, that bias is totally unfair. And it's like, well, okay, hold on. Like, we gotta, can we have biases for some reasons, or are some of these just like even your feeling is wrong, right? Yeah, people won't contend with why people feel the things they do sometimes. I think it's actually really interesting that if you look at like Lauren's story, you can kind of like trace her whole political ideology from like grew up in a small conservative community, had a really conservative family, had negative run-ins with like very progressive people. All of a sudden, like all of her like pretty far right. I mean, just make a ton of sense. Like, oh yeah, I can see why this person thinks this way. And I bet you can trace almost every political extremist down a similar path where like once you follow their life story, it's like, oh yeah, of course. No wonder this person believes these things. Like these are their collection of experiences. Not to say, hold on, to give my disclaimer, not to say that those opinions are right or wrong or good for society or bad for society or anything like that, but just to say that like there are reasons. No feelings are mistakes. Even trauma responses that are by definition irrational, that's why it's a trauma response, even those things happen for reasons. There are reasons for all of these feelings.
Right. And I think at this point we're just circle jerking, but like the reality is that if you don't have that understanding of why people hold the views they do or how they come to the conclusions they've come to, you will never meet them. But a lot of these people don't want to meet someone there and convince them. They just want to, and I try to not just chalk it up to clout and grandstanding and all that stuff, but it's hard to not feel that that's the case when...
Well, the issue is that fundamentally, politics is for power. Politics is an exercise of political power, truly. What we do today online, though, isn't politics, it's entertainment. Entertainment is fundamentally different. Entertainment is about growing your audience and making money. When you look at how people engage with politics today online, they don't engage with politics like it's politics. They engage with it like it's entertainment. Now, the topic is politics, but the meta engagement is not one of politics. The meta engagement is one of entertainment, right? Politics is like a meta level engagement. You can apply to anything, right? Like politics can be something you practice in the workplace when you try to get cozy up to the bosses so you can get like other people fired. When you try to cozy up to VPs so you can get promoted to other positions that other people might be more qualified with. That's like you're playing McDonald's, but not really. You're playing politics in McDonald's. Like politics is like your meta narrative there. It's like the meta game you're playing on top of like whatever. You can play politics in sports sometimes or in anything. You can play politics in entertainment. You can do that. But when it comes to quote unquote unquote politics on the internet, nobody is playing politics politically, which means they'd be trying to like increase the amount of political power they can express. They're playing it as a game of entertainment where they just want to grow their audience and their fan base. And I think when you look at it through that lens, well, now everything makes sense. There's not as many views as me like boringly sitting next to it because they're like, well, why do you feel this way about racism, blah, 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 as there is me like shitting down their throat and like throwing studies at them and calling them racist big. I get tons of views that way. But I'm more incentivized to do the latter because what I'm practicing really is entertainment and not politics. So that's like the difference.
So, and this is going to sound, sucky-offy, but like I overall trust that you are aware of when you're giving an opinion and getting a response for that opinion. But like, just think about how much you try to curate your community and like, hey, I realize you guys are responding super positively to this stuff. This isn't where I want us to go. You do that pretty often. But like, how often do you think these people such as Hassan, Keffels, whoever, Vosh, are aware of it and actively leaning into something they, leaning into the entertainment part and know they're doing it and know that like, hey, I'm sacrificing the politics for the entertainment, versus how many just kind of like aren't really thinking that next level ahead and are just like, oh, everyone agrees with this. These are good politics. And then just going forward with that.
It's hard for me to know this. I get, this is going to sound like self-aggrandizing a ton, but I think I'm a pretty introspective and honest person with myself. I think I have a pretty good understanding of why I do things I do. The more I talk to people, I always thought this was like a movie meme. I thought this was just stuff that people had written for movies or for characters in books and stuff. I didn't know this was a real human being thing. I think there are more people than I thought that are a little bit scared or reluctant to dig into like who they are and why they do the things they do. And I found that out more having personal conversations with people like totally unrelated to politics, where I'll kind of like ask probing questions like, why do you feel this way? Or like, don't you think that's kind of a problem that you have like this thing that you like know is a problem and you don't want to even address it? And they just kind of like laughed. I was like, yeah, this is like, yeah, it's probably a bad thing, but like, hey, yeah, I don't know. Like thinking about that is kind of scary. I don't think about that. And that actually seems to be way more people than I originally thought. I thought that was just like a movie trope. I didn't know that like real life people did that. So when I look at that, I think it's totally possible that like, if you got somebody like Hassan, I won't say Vosh because I think Vosh is smarter than Hassan. But if you got somebody like Hassan in a room and you asked him like, do you do like, is this like for political things or are you just like an entertainer trying to like grow their clout? I think that he'd probably talk around it for a bit. But if you got him like locked in a room, like hyped up on fucking LSD with like 7 interrogators and he was like truly forced to be introspective, I think it would take a great deal of work. I don't think he's done the work like individually as a human. But I think eventually he'd get to an area like, fuck, like I think I do engage with this, like maybe on an entertaining level. Yeah, sure. But it's not something that he knows readily. Is it Godwin's law, where you
everything that leads to Hitler?
No, fuck. There's another one. I don't remember what it's called. But maybe Hanlon's razor. Never assume malice where stupidity would be the adequate explanation. I'm never going to assume like a super malignant, bad faith, well planned out actor when it could just be a person that hasn't thought about it, And I view like all of the people that I intersect with, the Josies, the Keffels, the Hassans, not Vosh. I think Vosh is different. But these other characters, I don't think these guys are all like thinking at the end of the day like, okay, I'm going to malign Destiny so that I can weaken his online presence so that I can blah, blah, blah. I don't think they think it through that much. I think they just like, I hate this guy. I'm going to say this shit. I get a bunch of viewers and a whole bunch of like validation when I say these things. So I'm just going to keep hammering these points. I think that's how people view it. Yeah.
What was that one org that Keffels tried to ratio and it went poorly?
I don't remember. It's probably happened to a few things.
It was like the ACLU or something like that. Mm-hmm. And she tried to ratio them. And then like, I remember seeing a screenshot of a tweet where she says, you told me to do this and it went poorly. Why did you tell me to do that? And I didn't know like to what degree that's serious or just trying to shirk responsibility or like really she just was like, yeah, I'm going with the flow. Hey, that didn't go well. What the fuck, dude? Mm-hmm. Like, but then that makes me question overall to what degree any of this is like thoughtful versus just riding the wave. And the wave is taking a direction and they're not really thinking about why they're on that wave. It's just, it picked up their board and they're enjoying the ride.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
When I look at people like Keffels, that's probably not like, there's not a lot of like introspection or self-reflection that's going on there. It's just like somebody that's like an entertainer and they're kind of like along for the ride in that sense. It's not very thoughtful, the engagement that they're doing or whatever. That's why for most of these people, like, and I've said this before, people will do good things insofar as it like benefits themselves. And that's typically where the activism starts and ends for the vast majority of people. And it's why I think the most engagement you'll ever get from these kind of like online activist types, especially streamers and YouTubers, is usually charity donation drives, because it feels really good to be able to put an exact number on how much clout you have. Like, how much clout do you have? I fundraised $150,000. Damn, how much clout do you have? I fundraised $250,000. Like, it's the easiest example of being able to do a thing that gives you an exact number on the amount of clout you have, and it requires like no change in behavior from the people doing it, right? Maybe they'll have like a few like dono goals, like they'll play a game or something, but they're not like doing like real, they're not like matching the donations ever, and they're not doing like any real shit that goes out of their way. It's all stuff they might do for a bonus on stream anyway. But yeah, I think that's why that's the limit to the activism that they'll engage in. Yeah.
I wonder, overall, I get what you're saying. I wonder if it's that, or if it's just an easy way to do something positive, right? Like, you organizing people to go canvas, that takes effort. That takes a lot of preparation, a lot of investment in both time, mental energy, money.
Yeah, but like, that's like, I thought of that stuff because I cared about it, but I didn't even really like, I'm not even like jerking myself off, and maybe it's because I come from a different background, but there's so much more that I could do. Like, people will give me a lot of credit for stuff, but like, if I'm personally myself, like, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to even the activist side of stuff. I think I tried really hard and I did a good job when it came to the canvassing stuff. I think that was like, but that was like one project out of what, how many years of political activism, right? I think that I'm not trying that hard as I could be. But when I look at other people, like, my efforts make me look Herculean. Is that a word? Compared to how lazy some of these fuckers are. And that's a problem, I think, right? Like, if you wanted to do activism and you were a trans person, there's like a million different types of things that you probably could be doing rather than just a donation drive and ratioing people, you know? And like if you give me like 10 minutes, I could probably sit down and like make like a list of like, well, you could do this or that or that or that or that. That would all be good ideas, but like, they don't care about like exploring that. They just want to kind of do like, what are the major like clout things you can do? Like, they'll do quote unquote activism, but coincidentally, it's always going to be things that are also furthering their own career goals at the same time, every single time. That's why you get people like Mike, who a little bit too candidly admitted on stream, I don't do things like mutual aid because nobody's going to watch a mutual aid streamer, right? But I respect him almost for saying it because it's very transparent. It's true. Like, people will do activism.
I don't think he was intentionally transparent. I think that was
he wasn't intentionally, but it's giving a good window into the eye of like his mind, right? Like, you'll do quote unquote activism, but only insofar as it also serves your own career, right? Like, that's the actual priority. Much the same, right. Like, look at Keffel's, like, what stories is she highlighting for trans people? Well, it's the ones that show up in the news, like the one Minecraft girl or whatever, you know?
Right. She doesn't care about the trans. So, okay.
Whereas, like, on the flip side, not to jerk myself up, but like, I'll sit here, I'll spend an hour reading like 31 emails from like random no-name trans people, you know, on stream. And I guess maybe you could argue that goes in service of like clearing my name or something, but like, I could have done it without reading those. But I thought it was nice to give like voice to people that, you know, don't have articles being pushed about them, aren't donating me huge sums of money, and I'm not doing it as part of like a fucking charity donation drive, you know? But
right. So, kind of pivoting a little bit, but you just inspired a thought. You know how like there are gay people who are against gay marriage. Okay, so something I'm bad at articulating is why there are going to be people in a certain group that are oppressed or having issues societally, and why the opinions of certain ones aren't reflective of the whole group, or reflective of the best outcome for that group. Like the ones that don't want gay marriage to be a thing. It's like, hey, cool, that's fine. They have that opinion, but at the end of the day, like, gay marriage ought to be legal. Do you get what I'm saying? Like
how do you deal with like the Uncle Toms of the gay group, or what do you mean?
I don't know. Well, just in general, the Uncle Toms of any group, like how you articulate why their opinions. Let's hear their opinion. Sure.
Well, the only way that you can like, I don't listen to trans people to find out what my opinion should be on trans people. I listen to trans people so that they can flesh out my understanding of trans people so that I can form a better opinion about them. But I don't get my opinion of them from them. I just get experiences from them, and then I form an opinion based on that. That's the difference, right? I don't care if you're trans or not. Like, your opinion on HRT isn't relevant based on who you are. The relevancy is going to be the data there, and then what's going to inform my engagement with the data is the experiences that trans people tell me. But I'm never going to get my opinion about them from them. I'm just going to collect experiences from them. So there might be some gay, like the only way that you run into problems with like the Uncle Tom, the token figures, the only way you run into those problems is if you use those tokens yourself. Right? If somebody comes out and says like, well, I know that this is right because this gay guy is saying it, well, then of course on the other side, they're going to wheel out their gay guy and go like, well, look, he disagrees. Now you're fucked. You've got one gay guy. Well, I've got Milo Yiannopoulos and Dave Rubin. Now you're double fucked. And it's like, okay, well, fuck me. If you're just appealing to a minority group for opinions about the minority group rather than just collecting their experiences, then yeah, you're always going to be defeated by people willing to wheel out a token on the other side. And they could even argue that you're using a token on your side. That's what Candace Owens says when she talks about like the plantation, right? How all the black people on the progressive side are just wheeled out as tokens. So yeah.
Okay. So if I were to argue against that, I wouldn't try to focus on who they're bringing out. It would more be, cool, but have you listened to the other people from that group? Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're only listening to the ones that affirm what you want to believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah. I never, like in all the emails that I get from trans people, I'm never sitting there asking them like, what should my stance be on HRT? Or how do you think I should
obviously.
do it? Like, I don't care. I truly don't care. A million trans people could email me their take on what it should be. And I don't care. That's not going to influence my decision. What I do care is like, well, what are your lived experiences in these things and what are that? Because those are experiences that I can't have. I don't need somebody to tell me like about like HRT. I can read studies and I can see how that impacts people like that, or listen to case studies, or I guess listen to experiences about that. But I don't need people to give me their opinion on it. I just need them to tell me what their lived experiences are. And then I can make decisions from there, right?
Got it. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay.
Well, I don't think I have anything else, buddy. Is that the Ender Dragon head on your house?
I found one in the end. I guess they're on those castles or whatever. So
there are updates to this thing I don't understand. What's that rock you've been mining? The one that's like
Endstone. I'm just trying to level my mining. I don't know how these motherfuckers on my server got so many levels. I have to figure out what I can level tomorrow to fuck these dudes up. But
there's just a lot of shit I've not seen before.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. All right, buddy. Well, you have a good night. Good night, chat. Thank you for tearing apart my debate, chat. I'll talk to you soon.
Be careful.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, hey, what a night, guys. What is this moldy pizza? Gross. I don't really think you're talking about people who think that having the correct political opinions equal being a good person. Recently, for a while, I haven't been able to fully understand why I hate listening to progressives talk about morality, but I think that's the reason. Yeah, that's something that I noticed more and more and more. But that took me a while to learn, because I would assume, because I've always assumed this. That like if you have a certain set of political opinions, your personal moral beliefs are going to stem from that. But I'm starting to find out more and more that that's not even close to true. Like I find a lot of progressives that are dog shit humans. Or there's like all these memes now about like like alt-righters or far-right people, like even racist people, are super welcoming as long as you're racist. Like as long as you're willing to be racist too. You can even be racist against white people, but as long as you're racist, like you're invited to the alt-right cookout. And that's like really interesting to me. Like in some ways, it feels like certain groups on the right that are historically very intolerant are more tolerant. But it's not. I'm not saying it's like a one-to-one like that. Like, oh, the right is better about being tolerant than the left. I don't mean it that simplistically. I'm just saying it doesn't feel like people's moral dealings with others personally always comes or leads to different political views. That's interesting. I don't know why that is. That bothers me, but. That's something that I try to keep in mind religiously, though, especially in like my business dealings. Hopefully, I illustrated that. I'm trying not to. I try not to jerk myself up, but like I think like my business dealings with everybody have been like super ethical. Like I think if I told somebody that I was a socialist and then I showed them how I dealt with people in a business sense, I think that they would be like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely a socialist, even though I'm absolutely not a super capitalist.
Your mom is so massive. I took a picture of her last Christmas, and it's still printing.